I came live earlier because, but where's my, oh, there it is. Hi, Neil. I know. I decided to go live a little earlier. Oh, wait, 5:48 a.m.? Why were you there at 5:48? Hi, Kevin. Kevin. If you messaged me, you might, I'd hope, do, uh, can you message me on Discord? Do you know how to do that? I don't have access to X messages. I don't know where, if you're messaging me, I'm not sure where it is. So just let me, if you could message me on Discord. I just want to know what's going on. But only if it's my business. There you go. Good morning. I love you. Good morning, sunshine. The world says hello. Thank you, baby. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I do. I thought I'd come live early because I was bored. I'm going to be honest with you. And the stuff that I wanted to watch, it actually started early. But then I realized I probably fucked people up by not, like, going live at the time I said I would. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. We're just going to chill. I stayed up way too late last night playing video games. So I'm a little tired. Yeah. But, yeah, so who got actual sleep last night? I know, Meowing Star, I didn't. I didn't get any sleep last night. You're right. It's terrible. Okay. Let me get my thoughts together here. Let me see. There was one thing I wanted to pull up. I'm going to be a little slow today because I'm really, really tired. So I really apologize if I'm like, are you going to finish that sentence? It's just because I'm tired. So I really apologize. Let me see, because I think that I just saw a headline from my friend and yours, the man who would be king. Let's see, what the fuck? New York Times. Oh, that's not it. Fuck. Oh, although I want to read that too. God damn. Oh, I should just I should just do a whole show of, like, a whole day of reading. Okay, this is what I wanted to advise us about. Okay, alright. Okay, alright. There we go. Oh boy. Wow. I really wish that this was going to be a what's sleep? Yeah, Kevin, right? What's sleep? First of all, today's a hoodie day. That's all I'm going to say. It's a hoodie day, and I highly recommend finding your most comfy hoodie and hiding in it. I know that's not going to solve the world's problems, but it's going to make you feel just a little bit better, and that's going to keep you strong for what's ahead. Because, as we suspected, the most fragile ego in the world is so mad. Loki is just casually sitting on my patio table. I love that. It's like, this is a chair. It's a flat surface, Dad. I don't know what you mean. I get to sit on flat surfaces. Well, good morning, Loki and Thor, you loves. So I you know what the oh, okay. It seems like my stream disconnected for a minute there. That's never happened. They fired 3 flashbangs at a car full of young children, sending a 6-month-old to the hospital. Father trying to get his children out of the area last night. I'm struggling to process. Hi, gal. Yeah, I'm really struggling too. That's, yeah, I think this is going to get, so that's what I was saying was, I'm not afraid. It's not fear. I'm angry. I'm really angry that the donor class, that the people behind this are so heartless that they are allowing it to continue. And I know it fits their purpose by creating distraction, pain, all the things, right? And truly, maybe the people who fund this, you know, the teals, the this, the that, maybe well, no, I mean, I can't see where this donor class, as I call them, isn't lifting a finger to try and help when children are scared, mothers are shot in the face. And I haven't heard one person from industry. Say this is unacceptable. I did see, actually, and I meant to call it out to him, but I didn't do it. It was when Renee Good was murdered. Jeff Dean from Google, the guy that I know his family, he spoke out publicly against it. But I'm going to be honest, I need a much more strong chorus of voices that say this is not right. And if he invokes the Insurrection Act, which is really going to change our course for the worse, then I'm not sure. I'm not sure there shouldn't be a war. I guess I don't know. Do people not realize, don't people find it funny that this isn't a larger topic of discussion? Don't people find that odd? I don't know. Okay. I should be going on because I have to get to an appointment later on this morning, and I don't want to miss. We have a lot of stuff to do. So the first thing I want to do is there's 2 sets of nominations happening right now. Yeah, Kevin, they have. I guess, but I'm having a really hard time believing that people are so craven to money. It's so craven for money and for power that you wouldn't say, no, wait a minute, this isn't how I wanted to get my money and power. Like, is there any of those billionaires? I mean, maybe they just don't think this is that serious. And you know what? I'm okay. That's interesting. You know, like I maybe they don't understand. Maybe they're probably just not that aware. I don't know. I don't know. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, from the New York Times this morning, front page, Trump administration threatens to invoke Insurrection Act after Minneapolis protests, which we watched together in Discord, which was very helpful to watch with people. I know it's kind of trauma bonding, but in some ways, but it really helpfully, I really appreciate watching things with people. They don't understand freedom or what it means, but my God, they're humans. Like I'm so struggling with the fact that children have been involved in every large altercation that we've spoken of. Children have come up in that conversation or been directly involved in the incident. And I thought that would change people. I thought people would go, no, wait a minute. This is like, these aren't the criminals. That's a 6-month-old baby who's having an asthma attack because they sprayed gas under her car or something. You know, like, God, I don't know. It's just, I'm tired and it's very upsetting. But Okay. President Trump on Thursday threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act to quell protests in Minneapolis after an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent killed a woman in the city last week and shot a person last night. So they're shooting people all the fucking time. The president, who has previously threatened to invoke the 1807 Act, said he would do so if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators. They're not professionals. And insurrections from attacking the patriots of ICE. So that's that. But what we have for today is a couple of other things. One is the nomination of the AAG, and I want to see if we can catch that. And then there's some nominations for the Southern Command, and I want to watch a little bit of that as well. So let me see if I can get stupid ass. Let's see.
Hi.
Let me see if.
How shameful.
Let's see what Durbin says. Those were people running outside from their own homes last night. Yeah. All I want to see is lawyers step up and sue on behalf of those harmed by ICE. I agree, Kim. I totally 100% agree.
We're guilty of, quote, massive incompetence, in his words. I'll have more to
Can
say
you hear
about
it
him
okay?
later when his name comes up. Last week on the riot's 5-year
Please
anniversary,
be
the White
safe.
House published a revisionist history of January 6th. Like the Soviet Union, they're trying to rewrite history and write out of history the reality of January 6th. And like Darren Smith, the White House blames Capitol Police for the violence. How shameful. The White House claimed law enforcement who bravely defended us and our staff and visitors, quote, aggressively fired tear gas, flashbangs, and rubber munitions into crowds of peaceful protesters, injuring many and deliberately escalating tension, and, quote, turning a peaceful demonstration into chaos. We've all seen the videos. Will even one Republican senator condemn these despicable lies? When Donald Trump isn't whitewashing January 6th, he's targeting communities that didn't vote for him, like Chicago and Los Angeles and Minneapolis. Instead of deporting the worst of the worst, as promised, the Trump administration is rounding up tens of thousands of immigrants or people who look like immigrants with no criminal history. Judge Cummings, district court judge in the Northern District of Illinois, at one point asked ICE and DHS to produce a list of those who had been detained in the first round of Operation Midway Blitz. They produced a list of more than 600 names. Remember our targets? Our targets in this were made clear by the president over and over again. We're going after terrorists, criminals, all those who engaged in criminal conduct. That's what it was all about. So out of the 600, how many do you think had a criminal record of any kind? 6. 6 out of 60, 16 out of 600. 16 out of 600. 97% of those who were detained had no criminal record, and included in that list American citizens that ICE had detained in Chicago. 97%, no criminal record whatsoever. Instead of deporting the worst of the worst, they're creating a reign of terror in the African and the Hispanic communities in Chicago. You would think at some point in time this committee would have Secretary Noem before us. She's received more money than anyone in the history of that department, billions of dollars. She has now authorized the creation of tens of hundreds of new ICE agents who attack these communities. You'd think you had a few questions. There might be a few questions in Judiciary Committee. She had no time in the last calendar year to appear here. What's the history of the committee? History of the committee is this agency, DHS, is our responsibility. We're the ones who are supposed to hold this hearing. She's been too busy to attend. And I understand her complaint is if she comes, she can only come for an abbreviated period of time, limited questions. She doesn't have enough time to bother with this committee. That is an insult to every single one of us, Republicans and Democrats. And I want to tell you point blank, she's got the time and needs to be held accountable for what's happening with that agency. We have problems in cities across America where they've descended upon them, and I happen to represent one of them in Chicago. When I was chair of this committee, it was my job to call Secretary Mayorkas and give him the bad news. He had to appear every year before this committee. 10-minute rounds of questions. I told him it would be the worst day of his life, but he had to do it. He had a legal, moral, and constitutional responsibility. Secretary Noem does not believe she has that responsibility. It's about time for her to come and for us to accept our responsibility to ask questions. Mr. Chairman, I know you've been pushing on this issue, so I'm not pointing to you individually. But I do want to tell you, it is time for Secretary Noem to come or to step down from this position. I yield the floor.
Before we go to the vote, and everybody's here so we can have the votes, but you bring up an appropriate issue. As I said in my last statement before our Christmas break, that we had asked her to come twice, and we're asking her to come again. I think we're making great progress. I don't have a final decision for you, but I know that we've gotten their attention by talking to the press because they're irritated because I've been asking, the press has asked me about our appearance and I've talked about it and things of that nature. But I think I'll have to just leave it this way. We're making progress.
Mr. Chairman, am I mistaken? Do we have the power to subpoena this witness if she will not appear voluntarily?
Yeah, as long as you agree with me.
I certainly do, and I want to make a record publicly right now. If she doesn't affirmatively agree to a specific date for a full interrogation, 10-minute rounds, I believe she should be subpoenaed, and I would make that motion to this committee the next time we meet.
Now we'll go to Daniel Burrows. Unfavorably reporting the nomination, the clerk will call the roll.
Aye.
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 On this vote, the ayes are 13, the nays are 9.
David Folks, with a majority, will be reported to the floor. Now, Nicholas John Janji.
Mr. Welch.
No by proxy.
Mr. Schiff.
No.
Moody. Mr. Durbin.
No.
Alaska, unfavorably reporting, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Graham.
Aye.
They're not doing what I thought they were doing, which was talking to the Dan guy. Remember when they came out and said we're having a special AAG, an assistant attorney general, for all the immigration? Well, the guy who's up for that job was part of this nomination, and I was hoping that they'd have a discussion about his nomination. So let me just see if I can find it.
Trapped by the government.
Mrs. Britt. Aye. Mrs. Moody.
What if we had a nominee for U.S. Attorney representing the Department of Justice in a state who had no criminal experience in court, no civil experience in court, and in his questionnaire, when he was asked to point to one major piece of litigation he was involved in, left it blank because he'd never been involved in one? How could a person like this be taken seriously to be the U.S. Attorney in the state of Wyoming? And yet Darren Smith is just that person. And look what he said about January 6th. Who did he blame for the violence and destruction which we saw? He blamed the Capitol police officers. He said they were massively incompetent. Massively incompetent. He baselessly claimed the rioters were entrapped by the government. And Mr. Smith has maintained his radical and dangerous stance that Vice President Pence should not have certified the results of the 2020 election. He also falsely claimed the FBI agents who interviewed him regarding his presence at the Capitol were sent by former Congressman Liz Cheney and, quote, her goons, unquote, after he demanded that she be censured by the Wyoming Republican Party. Doesn't this resume just get juicier? Mr. Smith even attacked his home state Republican senators for finding credible the sexual assault allegations made by multiple women against Alabama Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore. This man is going to be U.S. Attorney if he receives a positive vote from this committee and on the floor. He is now in an interim capacity. For goodness sakes, you and I both know any Democratic nominee with such a resume would never be considered seriously for any job in the Justice Department except the most basic entry-level position. This man is going to have the power of a U.S. attorney in a state and has no criminal experience, no civil experience, never been in a courtroom, and can't identify one piece of litigation that was important in his career. Honest to God, is this committee going to approve this nominee?
Darren Smith, District of Wyoming. Clerk
Yes,
will
we
call the roll.
are.
Mr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Cornyn.
Aye.
Mr. Lee. Mr.
We sure are.
Mr. Hawley.
Sure. Yeah. 100%. Hell yeah. Oh yeah. All day long.
No.
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 No by proxy. No by proxy. No by proxy. No by proxy.
I wanted to explain why. I've watched you patiently since September, when the first oversight hearing for Homeland Security should have occurred last year, request that the Secretary come before this committee. You mentioned over the past couple of months that you have tried to get her to, the Secretary to come before the committee. And I understand more recently we're even talking about the terms of an oversight. Let me tell you how oversight, we have an oversight responsibility for Homeland Security. Oversight's pretty straightforward. You come in here according to tradition. You agree to come here and answer questions according to the tradition and the time agreements. I think in this case it's 10-minute rounds. And you report back. That's our role. It's a very important role here. And I'm very frustrated with the fact that we still do not have a date certain, and that we're even having this absurd discussion about the terms of the oversight hearing. And for that reason, I will be putting a hold and maintain a hold on anything related to Homeland Security until such time as they come before the committee. But if that is not firm by the end of this month, I will expand holds to other aspects of government to get the Secretary's attention. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure, she's gonna be real mad at you.
I just want to say in response to Senator Tillis, you'll have an opportunity if she does not agree to come for full interrogation. You'll have an opportunity at the next business meeting of Judiciary to vote with me for a subpoena to command her presence.
Mr. Chair, I'm not going to entertain a subpoena, and I don't want the press or anybody else to think that that's even in the realm of possibilities for me. I'm
Why?
simply going to use my authority
Because
as a U.S. Senator
I'm
to ask
fine
a
with
secretary who
children
has an
being
obligation to come to
shot.
an oversight hearing in this
I'm
committee
fine.
to appear.
Because
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
I'm
Senator
afraid.
Kennedy, I was told you wanted to speak after we voted on the Clear Act. Do you want to speak now?
I'm going to. I'm
Really?
going to speak whenever you want me to speak.
Speak.
Speak?
Yeah.
he's wearing the bolo necklace because of the
Senator Kennedy.
advocacy for
Thank you,
recognition
Mr.
of the
Chairman. I
NC
just want to say a
Lumbee
quick word
Indian
about,
tribe, which has been widely supported across the
Mr.
state.
Justin
Great. Can he support the
Olson,
children
whose
being shot in the
nomination
fucking
we
face?
voted to send to the floor today,
Fucking hell.
as is my practice, as is the practice of
I'm
most
done.
members
I'm
of this
done.
committee. I often question witnesses to make certain that
What
they
are
will
you
not
talking
take
about
their
now?
personal
Foghorn
opinions
Leghorn?
to the bench, and they will simply apply the rule of law. Doesn't matter whether I or any of us agree with their personal to do. Sometimes I had a long conversation with Mr. Justin Olson, for whom I voted today, and I'm convinced that he will do that. And I just wanted to say that for the record, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Senator Whitehouse.
As the lead Democrat on the bill, I just want to thank Senator Cornyn for his good work getting this together, and I also want to particularly thank Chairman Risch.
Okay, they're not dragging that guy in front of him right now, so I'm not going to bother because I really wanted it to be the new AAG. I wanted to hear what that dipshit had to say. But I do have this other SOCOM. Oops, oh shitballs. God blessed America. God bless in America. Oh, let me check the United Nations just to see if they're doing anything. Nope, they haven't. Nope. No, the United Nations. I was thinking the United Nations was rumored to have a Security Council meeting. They may have one today. But I need to, we'll find out. Okay, let me change that over. Ooh. Imagine all the people living for today. Oh my God, sorry. I'm moving a little slow today because I stayed up too late last night, and I really apologize, but it was a very upsetting night, and I decided to play some video games so that I could go to sleep. And it took me until 2 a.m. to get to sleep. So I'm a little tired. Foghorn, Leghorn, diddle, diddle, diddle. All right, so this is the Senate Armed Services Committee is holding confirmation hearings, and they are confirming for U.S. Southern Command Chief. Remember, the head of the U.S. Southern Command retired, I guess, or left early, or did something, because I guess he didn't want to kill people in boats. So let's find out if we can find someone that will agree to kill people in boats. Shall we? Let's go. Let's go. Anyway, this started earlier this morning.
I'm deeply honored and humbled to appear before you today as the nominee for Commander, U.S. Cyber Command, Director of the National Security Agency, Chief, Central Security Service. I want to thank President Trump, Secretary Hegseth, the Chairman, and the Chief of Staff of the Army for the nomination and their trust in me to lead this critical role in our national security apparatus. I'm also honored to be alongside my friend and fellow warrior leader, Lieutenant General Frank Donovan. I am the grandson of members of the greatest generation. Both my grandfathers served during World War II. I was raised by a single mother who I know is watching today from South.
Okay, how old am I? Because my dad was in World War II. Oh boy, I am an old bitch. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, let's go. National security, my ass. It's all bad, Kim.
South Carolina. My mother instilled the values of faith, family, strength, courage, and hard work. And it was a upbringing that planted the seeds which have led to a life of service and the relentless pursuit of excellence in everything that I do. I commissioned in the Army through ROTC at Furman University, where I met my lovely bride, Ansley. She has been with me and supported me in this adventure since the beginning. Ansley, I'm eternally grateful for your love, strength, and support over the last 3.5 decades. You are, and always have been, the rock upon which our family finds stability and resilience. Our 2 daughters, Hayden and Hollis, are also here with us today. Hayden is a congressional fellow with the Senate Committee for Commerce, Science, and Transportation, and Hollis is here from Texas, where she is a business professional working for a company that provides support to our service members, families, and veterans. Thank you both for all the sacrifices you have made over the course of your upbringing. You both inspire me to continue to serve and defend our American way of life. I'd also like to recognize the selfless men and women I've served with throughout my career, both uniformed and civilian, and of course, an incredible non-commissioned officer corps. Most importantly, I'd like to remember the many who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our great nation. My journey as an Army officer started as a logistician, and as a captain, I transitioned to Special Forces. When people learn of this, many remark, "What an unlikely beginning to a career such as yours." Unconventional. Yes, unconventional in many ways. However, it is this non-traditional path that has led to a rich experience as a joint warfighter at the forefront of our nation's most challenging problems. This includes command of joint, combined, and interagency teams at various echelons in peacetime and in conflict, preventing attacks against our homeland, and delivering effects against our nation's adversaries in all domains. For decades, I have had the opportunity to be a leader, consumer, enabler, generator, and integrator of the intelligence and operational capabilities of NSA and Cyber Command. For the past 6 years, I have served in a variety of positions in Indo-Pacific, where we are focused on defense of the homeland.
I'm a smoker.
deterring
And I'm a
adversaries,
midnight
and strengthening
toker.
alliances and partnerships in the region.
And I'm
We do this through delivering combat credible capabilities in all domains,
I'm a
and this
lover.
certainly includes the cyber
I'm a
domain.
sinner. And
If
I'm a
confirmed, I'm prepared to lead these
chicken
organizations as an
dinner.
integrated and essential
Yeah.
team to rapidly deliver options and solutions to our nation's toughest security challenges at this critical time in our history. Thank you for the privilege of appearing before you today. If confirmed, I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to your questions today.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant General. Now, Lieutenant General Donovan, you are recognized for your opening statement.
Good morning, Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Reed, and distinguished members of this committee. It's a true honor to appear before you today as a nominee to be the next commander of U.S. Southern Command. I'm grateful to the President, Secretary, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Commandant of the Marine Corps for their trust and confidence in me for this nomination. Privileged to be alongside Lieutenant General Josh Rudd, a friend and teammate for many years. I'll start by recognizing Admiral Alvin Halsey and his wife, Dr. Stephanie Halsey, for their 37 years of selfless service. I also want to recognize Lieutenant General Evan Pettis, who is currently leading U.S. Southern Command. Joining me today is Kim, my wife and best friend for over 32 years. We met in the island of Crete in 1992, where we were both assigned to
I
a
really
small
fucked
naval
up.
naval
I am like going to
installation.
die alone. I'm
Service
pretty
to our nation
convinced.
is in Kim's blood. She was raised in a Navy family where her father, a career Navy chaplain, served across the globe, including tours in Korea and Vietnam, during which he is awarded a Purple Heart. A former naval officer, Kim's path of service makes her a passionate advocate for our military service members and their families. Also with us today is our daughter, Sergeant Margaret Donovan, serving the Marine Corps Special Operations Command. Our son, First Lieutenant Brendan Donovan, is an infantry officer serving on the West Coast. He couldn't be here today. He's attending a training course to become a reconnaissance Marine. Also not with us today is our daughter-in-law, First Lieutenant Holly Beskey, who's in her final weeks of flight school. Kim and I are incredibly proud of Maggie, Brendan, and Holly, as they have not sought the easier way, but the path less traveled by the few and the proud. I'll take this opportunity to thank my parents, Frank and Martha Donovan, for the example of faith, family, and service.
Hi, peace,
Enlisted
love.
at 17,
Yeah.
my father served 40
Let's
years in the
start
Navy,
making
retiring as
connections.
Vice Admiral. He and my mother raised 8 children and 29 grandchildren. Their legacy of service lives on today with 23 of our family
Good morning,
members
Pep.
having served or currently serving in the U.S. military. In addition to my parents' example, I've been profoundly impacted by the dedication, professionalism, courage, and grit of the joint service members I've served with in every climate and place, in peace and at war. Their selfless example, and more specifically, the actions and examples of the non-commissioned officers and the senior enlisted leaders I have served alongside, has shaped my approach to leadership, duty, and responsibility. Over the past 37 years, I've operated in every geographic combatant command and had the honor to lead Marine Corps, Navy, Joint, and Special Operations Forces across the spectrum of armed conflict, from clandestine operations to high-intensity combat on land, air, and sea. Most of these operations were conducted shoulder to shoulder with allies and partners.
An incredible companion.
Serving as the Vice Commander of U.S. Special Operations Command,
He's going to be the head of Southern Command, Josh. Come on now. He's going to be the head. He's going to be blowing up boats in the Caribbean in about a week.
Develop close interagency and diplomatic relationships. It is with this foundation that I approach U.S. Southern Command. If confirmed, I'm fully committed to leading a warfighting headquarters capable of joint operations at range, speed, and scale. I'll collaborate closely with regional allies and partners, fellow combatant commanders, and the joint staff to protect America's vital national interests, deter war, and if necessary, win them quickly and decisively. If confirmed, I'll provide the Secretary and President candid and clear military advice, and I commit to remaining fully transparent with this committee. I look forward to your questions today. Thank you.
And thank you, General. Appreciate your testimony on the part of both of you. I will now ask you both a series of standard questions this committee poses to all military nominees. And we found it's best if we just have a simple yes or no as your response. To exercise its legislative and oversight responsibilities, it's important that this committee and other appropriate committees of the Congress be able to receive testimony briefings, and other communications of information. Have you adhered to applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest? Yes.
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 Do you agree when asked to give your personal views, even if those views differ from the administration in power?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you assumed any duties or undertaken any actions which would appear to presume the outcome of the nomination process?
No.
No.
Will you ensure your staff complies with deadlines established for requested communications, including questions for the record in hearings?
Yes.
Yes.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
Yes.
Yes.
Will those witnesses be protected from reprisal for their testimony or briefings?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify upon request before this committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you agree to provide documents, including copies of electronic forms of communication, in a timely manner when requested by a duly constituted committee, or to consult with the committee regarding the basis for any good faith delay or denial in providing such documents?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And now
I always
we
thought it'd be so
recognize,
cool to be a
each
hacker.
member of the
I
committee
tried
who
actually
chooses
to learn
to,
like stuff like that.
question
and
you for some 5 minutes.
I think it's
Let me
so
begin
hot
by
if you can do
a
that.
quick yes or no question that we've been asking for some time now of nominees. And I ask this because we are having some problems with implementation of last year's reconciliation bill. Do you commit, General Donovan, to follow the Congress's spending recommendations and defense reconciliation unequivocally?
Yes.
And General Rudd?
Yes, Senator.
All right, and then let me turn to you first, General Donovan. We know what's happened in Venezuela. We referred to that in our opening statements from the dais. We know the Maduro regime was corrupt. It was an illegitimate narco government dictatorship. He's been removed now. So where does that leave you and Southcom, should you be confirmed, to limit the adversarial powers so close to home and to reduce the supply of drugs? And what strategic options are now open to you since we have a Venezuela government that is cooperating with us to an extent?
My question is, do people notice a shortage in their drugs?
Senator, in my current role as
Is there a
Vice Commander
shortage of
U.S.
drugs
Special
coming into the
Operations
country?
Command, I'm
'Cause
not
have we
connected to
stopped
any
it?
current planning operations or future planning in Southern Command. If confirmed, however, I will be fully involved in that process, and my responsibility would be to provide the planning and staff process at that Southcom headquarters to create the best military options to present to the Secretary.
Well, okay, but do you have any ideas about to what extent or in what way you'll be involved?
Senator, again, if confirmed, my responsibility is that everything that happens in Southern Command is my responsibility inside that AOR. So with that, I would be responsible for developing the planning process that includes not only the core staff at the headquarters, but all the subordinate commands, the interagency and other players, including allies and partners, again, to create those best plans, best military advice. To
I'm not
provide
sure
to
how they
Chairman.
block them,
And
though,
the
Meowing Star. They
Well,
don't have the
perhaps
numbers.
you could,
I just don't know if there's a way
expound
to
on this
do that.
on the record as to what strategic options you'll have. I appreciate that.
I wonder if they have any power to
actually.
actually influence that. You know what I mean?
We spoke about that in our opening statements up here. What are your views?
Okay. Blue
inherit
card
this
or
dual hat
something? Okay.
responsibility at a critical time. What are your views about the unique advantages and what national security impact would you expect to see if somehow changes were made to this dual hat arrangement?
Chairman, I think what I've seen from the perspective of U.S. Indo-PACOM and really throughout my career since that arrangement's been in place is the effects of unity of command and unity of effort across two different organizations that I believe and understand, and what I've seen from a consumer of those capabilities, is an effectiveness that fosters integration and speed. And I think that the current strategic environment that we're in definitely requires speed, agility, integration of all of our capabilities, not just of those two organizations, but across the joint force and across all domains. And I know there's recently an independent study that looked at that, continues to look at that. I think if confirmed, my responsibility is to remain objective about that relationship, assess continuously if that is the most effective way to lead those two organizations.
I think you'll find there's a great deal of support up here on this committee for that dual hat responsibility. Let me see if I can get one more question. Last year's Working Families Tax Relief Bill provided $1 billion for offensive cyber operations, reflecting recognition of the strategic importance of these capabilities. Based on what you've seen, you haven't taken office in this position yet, but do you think
No,
Cyber
I
Command,
100% agree.
based on
This is a great
legislation
strategy
that
to
has been
stop
passed and
nominations,
money that's
try and
been
find a way
allocated,
until we,
is
just like,
optimized
yeah, fucking Tuberville
to
did it,
support the commander of Indo-PACOM?
because he wanted that shit in Alabama, and now it's there, so it worked.
Chairman, U.S. Indo-PACOM has an incredible relationship with U.S. Cyber Command, and we work tirelessly to ensure that those capabilities of U.S. Cyber Command are fully integrated into all domains, both kinetic, non-kinetic, integration of capabilities. And that's something that we exercise every day, and we certainly look at ways to improve in every one of our exercises.
Thank you very much. Senator Reed.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and gentlemen, let me thank you for your extraordinary service. You've both been at the tip of the spear for 3 decades or more. Thank you very, very much. General Donovan, the 2025 NSS, the security strategy, calls on the military
I'm not
to
sure if there's
readjust
anyone
its
that's
global
really a
military presence
firebrand,
to
if
address
you will.
urgent threats in our hemisphere. Is Southcom, in your view, resourced for such a significant shift of foreign policy?
Ranking Member Reed, my view of that, how I think about that, again, not confirmed, but if confirmed, if I was in Southern Command, I'd look at the assets that are currently deployed in theater for the current task at hand. Lay that on top of the great work that Southern Command is known for, which is security cooperation. And in that, is that enough to address what we believe in the NSS?
Gene
the Western
Shaheen is on
Hemisphere as a
it, Richard
priority region now?
Blumenthal.
Is that enough to achieve the objectives in the NSS? I can't
Maisie
speak on that until I'm
Hirono,
in position, if
Tim
confirmed,
Kaine.
Senator, to understand that challenges and opportunities of maintaining a current posture.
Angus
but
King,
also
Elizabeth
being very
Warren,
aware that
Tammy
there's global
Duckworth, Gary Peters.
requirements for the joint force. And I pledge, if confirmed, to continue to work with the joint staff to ensure
Oh,
that
fucking Mark
Southcom would
Kelly's
have
on it.
the assets, resources it needs
Alyssa Slotkin.
to
Oh, everybody's
achieve the
on it.
objectives as envisioned in the NSS, Senator.
I mean,
Can I interject? It's okay
there's a few.
for you two gentlemen to tell us how you feel. We realize that you haven't been confirmed yet, but so far we really haven't received any answers about how you feel about the responsibilities you're about to take on. It's okay to tell us, and actually it would be helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. Please, go ahead, General Donovan.
Ranking Member Reed, I will tell you that understanding the layout of resources now, not in theater, not understanding what is on hand and what was going to remain in theater is how I answered that question.
So you do not have any indication of how long these forces will spend in the Caribbean region? You have no indication from the chairman?
No, Senator, I do not.
Okay, thank you. You just said in response to Chairman Wicker that everything that happens in my AO is my responsibility.
Bullshit.
There is likely, at least seems this way, that there will be continued
Lisa
boat
Slotkin is
strikes
playing all the sides.
by
I'm sorry,
military
she does.
personnel against
She wants to be the star of the Democratic Party, but she's the star of the Democratic Party from 1987.
From a legal standpoint and also from a operational standpoint.
Will you review every one of these strikes? In fact, look back at the previous strikes with the advice of counsel, your JAG, to ensure that they've all been conducted legally?
Ranking Member Reed, my responsibility will be to execute a planning process that brings the whole of the staff together at each one of these operations, to include legal advisors, to understand the mission at hand, organize the force appropriately, and then execute the mission as required. So yes, I have that responsibility and will continue to lead the staff to ensure that all those operations are executed within the laws of armed conflict.
Thank you. General Rudd, in your advanced policy questions, you indicated, quote, the command and control model must balance tactical agility with strategic oversight, which I can agree with, but we have a problem sometimes of paralysis by analysis. I think that's what you were referring to. But we also have problems sometimes with sacrificing due diligence and scientific inquiry for speed. It's a great balance. Can you indicate how you propose to make that balance?
Ranking Member, the word that really jumps out at me in your question is speed. And again, I think if we think about the strategic environment that we currently face, the element of speed is absolutely essential. And making sure that this organization, both those organizations, are able to deliver options and effects quickly in support of the combatant commanders and or decision makers. So certainly there has to be due diligence and responsibility in the execution of duties at a rapid pace. Always something that a commander assesses in terms of risk, deep analysis, consultation with the experts, especially in this regard. Cybercom and NSA both have unbelievably talented and deeply technical expertise in their capabilities and responsibilities. And I think that's a constant balance, certainly a responsibility for every combatant commander. And Ranking Member, if confirmed, I pledge to continue to do that due diligence and ensure
Thank
that we
you.
move.
If I just make one more comment, one way to accelerate is to anticipate, and that requires getting together with all of your staffs and looking ahead, the latest intelligence, as you well know, and what the threat will be, not next week or the following week, but into the future. But thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Reed. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank both of you today for the service that you have already given to this country and your willingness to step forward in these new positions. My thanks also to your families for their service and sacrifice that they have done for many, many years as well to this country. General Rudd, how has your experience as a consumer of intelligence and operational capabilities of NSA and Cybercom informed your understanding of the value of cyber effects to help shape that battle space?
Senator, the reliance upon both signals intelligence and cyber capabilities are absolutely indispensable to our warfighters. My role at INDOPACOM, we look at it every day. We operationalize it, we integrate it, and we factor it into every one of our decisions. And it enhances the way that we're able to collectively across the joint force and in all domain generate the options that continue to deliver deterrence. And if you go further back in my background, certainly that holds true. Different theaters, different problem sets, but that's been a continuous theme throughout my career.
And when you talk about the joint force, how would you prioritize deepening Cybercom's relationships with the other combatant commands? And from what you understand now in the position you're nominated for, do you believe that it has the resources that you would need in order to accomplish that?
Senator, the relationships across the combatant commands are indispensable. And again, we foster it every day through our operations. We enhance it through our exercises and experimentation, and there's constant communication. And I think
Yeah,
it's
but
certainly
Jane, they
the
were,
underpinning of how we deliver
Yeah.
the unbelievable capability that we have to bring to bear on these problem sets most effectively. And certainly, if confirmed, that's something that I
don't
would
know how
prioritize. is
Tuberville did it, but-
Continuing to build and enhance those relationships, Senator.
General Rudd, when we look at the tools with AI and how they're continuing to evolve, I expect we're going to see it more
How did Tillis
integrated
do
in
that?
both
Or what's his name?
cybercom as
Tuberville.
well as our adversaries are going to
Traderville.
be
Tommy Traderville.
integrating AI into their
What'd he
weapons
do?
and the tools that
Dressed
they
in which I
use.
hardly
And
recognize-
although
oh.
we won't be able to go into much
Lovely
detail
Carrie.
in this
It's-
setting we're in now, we've already
We have
seen
fallen.
some public reports
We are falling.
about
We are
adversaries
falling.
using AI to target U.S. companies. You're an Indo-PACOM, and Indo-PACOM has been an early adopter of AI technologies. So what have been the impacts of that adoption, and what lessons from that experience
If there's a
do
fucking
you
way they can
expect
block
to
nominations,
carry
I say
forward
fucking go
to
for it.
Cybercom
What's
if
their?
you're,
What are they waiting for?
confirmed to
What
that
are they waiting
position?
for?
Yes, Senator, as you highlight, we really have put a concentrated effort at U.S. Indo-PACOM, and I know Cybercom is as well. I also, what I understand is this
Oh, I
committee's been very
remember the
supportive of
Tuberville
making sure
shit.
that
No, I remember it well.
both
Tina's an
Cybercom
expert on
and
Tommy
the other
Tipperville.
the rest of the Joint Force has resourcing and prioritization of that critical capability.
As you have seen the adoption of those capabilities in PACOM, has it been easy? Has it been seamless? Are there bumps in the road? Tell me about the adoption of them and what you
What are you
anticipate
even
to see
talking
in
about?
Cybercom.
I don't fucking care.
Yes, Senator. I think the adoption of technology and capabilities is we're learning a lot. We're
Ships.
Senator, I would build on, if confirmed, build on the great work that Southern Command has always been known for, and look for ways to expand those to increase regional security and partners that can help carry the burden.
If I'm made head cheerleader, I
Thank you,
promise.
Senator Fisher. Senator Shaheen.
Good morning. Congratulations to both of you on your nominations, and thank you to you and your families for your willingness to continue to serve. Lieutenant General Donovan, historically, U.S. aid programs and State Department-funded support have been critical in Southcom because, as we know on this committee, we've most often in the past have had a low force presence in the region, and we've used soft power to combat Chinese and Russian and other adversarial influences there. In fiscal year 2024, USAID provided $1.3 billion in humanitarian assistance in Southcom's area of responsibility. In fiscal year 2025, that number dropped to only $127.5 million. So as you think about this challenge, how do you address the need for soft power in the region without having the previous available support to do that?
Senator, thank you for that, and I have been thinking quite a bit about that because throughout my 37 years of service, always have been ashore in many locations aligned with, supporting at times, but always working closely with, the chief of mission, the elements of the Department of State. So it's ingrained in what we do, both as Marines and as a soft leader. I am concerned about any drops in any of the tools that would be available to a combatant commander to address a range of issues. And the idea of soft power to ensuring that, if confirmed on the ground, I can take a look at the requirements, specifically if made a priority effort in the NSS, it needs to be matched by a priority effort in all the resources available, specifically with those allies and partners to be used in ways we've used so successfully in the past. So I pledge to look into any decrements, Senator, and find ways to cover gaps and ask for more resources.
Well, thank you. As you're thinking down the road, what does success look like in Southcom in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Success looks at a safe and secure homeland, and Southcom's connections in NORTHCOM to provide that, that buffer to protect our homeland. But at the same time, regional partners built so they can handle regional problems and share those burdens. Senator.
Thank you. Lieutenant General Rudd, Cybercom as
campaign from the real challenges that face the people of our country.
Fuck you, Gene Shaheen.
The military operation.
Fuck you.
Projection standpoint and what you think.
Nice. Several days before
Fucking hell.
the action of the United States. And I'm just guessing that he wishes at this point that he had listened more carefully. Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for you and your families for your service. I want to make clear that
I used to like
about what's
her when I
happening
lived
right
in
now
New England.
From my perspective, the Trump regime is executing a diversion campaign from the real challenges that face the people of our country. The military operation in Venezuela is yet another example of how the U.S. military can successfully execute a complicated, complex operations. That is not an issue. That is not the subject of debate. What is up for debate are the decisions surrounding this operation, its legality, whether it was worth risking American lives, and if there is a plan for what happens next. Recent polling shows that the majority of Americans are concerned that the U.S. will become too involved in Venezuela. We need to be focusing on hard questions about the future of Venezuela and the scope of the U.S. engagement moving forward. But while the Trump administration, Trump regime, pats itself on the back that they are refusing to tell the American people and Congress about what comes next. Instead, President Trump boasts that the U.S. will be running Venezuela for years, but it is not clear who will do that running. This regime is writing the script as they go along, but this is not a Saturday Night Live skit. This is real life. In the midst of an affordability crisis in our own country, this regime is focused on running Venezuela and debating which country to take over next. We're being asked to celebrate a foreign intervention that lacks a legal underpinning, as far as I'm concerned, or a clear exit strategy. Congress, the American people, and our allies and partners are left with more questions than answers. We need a president who respects the Constitution rather than relying on politicized legal opinions and his morality, as he puts it. Without accountability, a long-term strategy, and transparency, the Trump regime is failing the American people. Let me get to my questions. I ask initial two questions of all nominees before any of the committees on which I sit, so I will ask the two initial questions that go to fitness to serve. We'll start with General Donovan. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
General Rudd?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
For General Donovan, Southcom has traditionally focused on security cooperation, counter-drug and disaster response, not high-intensity combat. I am concerned that the nomination of a general with your background signals the intention to expand high-intensity or special operations in the region without the right resources and institutional experience. For example, watchdog reports say that Southcom civilian harm mitigation staff has been reduced from 4 personnel to a single contractor. General Donovan, if confirmed, will you commit to fully implementing civilian harm mitigation policies, which is a very important, I would say, part of your assessment before you engage in any operations? Would you agree?
Yes, Senator, I commit to that.
So, and will you request the resources that you need in order to do the assessment that I just referred to. And this is just one example of the resources that I have concerns about regarding Southcom.
Yes, Senator.
For General Rudd, you have unique insight into the threats posed by China from your position at INDOPACOM, and I thank you for your service in INDOPACOM. But countering China's cyber threats demands strong technical leadership at the top. Cybercom's advantage has also been intelligence sharing with allies. It is very concerning that President Trump has withdrawn the U.S. from many international organizations focused on cyber coordination and deterrence. The cyber domain remains a vulnerable area that demands deep technical expertise and international coordination. Without this access to the kind of international coordination that Trump has taken us out of, without the kind of expertise that I would expect someone who will be taking over Cyber Command, how will you address these challenges?
Senator, I would, as you know very well, at INDOPACOM, allies and partners are absolutely critical to our approach. That will continue, and that is a critical part of all of our combatant commands. And Senator, if confirmed, I would continue to thicken and deepen those relationships. And to the point about the technical aspects of the job, I'm confident that the incredible talent at Cybercom and NSA will provide great advice, and I'm confident that if confirmed, I can continue to lead and enable those two organizations to provide the best support to our combatant commanders and the Joint Force writ large.
Thank you, Senator Hirono. Senator Tuberville.
Do you promise to kill
Thank you,
as
Mr.
many
Chairman.
narco-terrorists as you possibly can?
Thanks for your
and
service,
it don't matter
guys.
if they tell you
Thanks for
you're a
having your families
narco-terrorist.
here.
It's okay.
And
It's okay.
some of their, obviously, service.
Tommy Traderville.
Lieutenant Donovan.
He has a
General,
hard-on right now because
appreciate,
there's men in uniform in front of him.
You may not have the opportunity to spend a significant amount of time at your new headquarters, but
Am I
I've
lying?
been there several
That's his
times.
voice.
It strikes me that while the current facility
I'm
is
not making it up.
not good for Southern Command's previous focus, theater security cooperation, I think the next commander will need to evolve the facilities and staffing to operate as a more traditional command, especially given President Trump's stated desire to focus more on our own hemisphere. What's your thoughts on that statement, and will you agree that to evaluate your situation in terms of your headquarters once you get to Miami?
Senator, thank you for that. I have been thinking a lot about that.
Does he want it
One, I
to
have
move to
credit
Alabama?
The Southcom team that have done great work, as you mentioned, Senator, on the security cooperation. They're known for that, allies and partners, building that partnership capacity and capability. The NSS directs us to enhance that now into kind of full spectrum capabilities to offer the best military solutions or advice to the Secretary and the President. And so the assessment will include all those things you mentioned, Senator, and we'll do that very quickly.
Thank you. Being a football coach for 30 years,
Paul,
I've dealt
I
with
wish you
a
all
lot
the
of young
best.
people. And
Get that lawyer. Come
I saw
on.
the influx of drugs
He or she needs
in our
to
country
get that
really
for you.
increase last 10 or 15
I'm
years.
sending really good vibes
But
your
now
way,
that
Paul.
we are taking forcible action in your command in our state of Alabama, I've seen and heard from our law enforcement officers that we have seen a decline in drugs. And I just want to make that statement because if we don't do something, if we don't take a serious response to what they're doing and coming through the Caribbean, we're going to lose this generation because our streets are filled with drugs.
Fuck
and if
you,
we're
Tommy. You
closing
don't
our
even know
eyes,
what you're
I
fucking
hear
talking about you
what
fucking asshole.
how
You fucking
Southcom.
asshole. Shut the fuck up, Tommy Traderville. You're a traitor, and you should be hung by your neck
my number
until
one thought,
dead.
Senator, is to understand,
But I
again,
don't
can
know.
we sustain and maintain if
How
assets
do I
over
know?
time?
I want to see if okay, I got to get to Blumenthal's.
You for your very lengthy and distinguished records of service, and thank you to your families, not only for their support, but to your children, General Donovan, for their service in the Marine Corps. General Donovan, the United States continues to have a massive military presence in the Caribbean after the rendition of Nicolas Maduro. The purpose of having that presence there was supposedly to extricate him so as to bring him to justice. Now that it has been accomplished, what is the purpose of maintaining that continuing massive presence in the Caribbean?
Senator, thank you for the time in your office and also sharing the stories of your children that have served honorably in this nation, so thank you for that. Senator, from my perspective, how I think about that problem set is, or the opportunities of the buildup in the Caribbean or South America right now with those assets. I put the hat on, if confirmed, responsibility of sustaining those assets over time. So I know there'll be a global demand, as they are, for those very high priority assets like a carrier strike group or an amphibious ready group and a marine expeditionary unit. They're needed all around the globe, and there's not enough of them. So my number one thought, Senator, is to understand, again, can we sustain and maintain if they stay? And if they are moved out for other reasons, how do we actually replace the capability or move in different directions with that both hard and soft power approach to achieve the objectives outlined in the NSS, Senator?
It's no secret, General, that Americans are concerned that there may be the use of those assets either to once again put troops on the ground in Venezuela, albeit they were only briefly in the last time, or in Cuba or another country in Southcom. Are you aware of any plans to begin any strike using those assets or others?
Senator, I am not in my current position in the Pentagon working for a U.S. Special Operations Command. I'm not privy to those plans, but I commit to you, if confirmed, I will be fully involved in any future planning, Senator.
I'm very concerned about the legal basis for both the strikes on boats that have killed more than 100 people, more than 20 of those boats that allegedly were carrying narcotics. I've reviewed both of the Office of Legal Counsel opinions.
But I shared her
find them
channel yesterday,
totally
Kim.
lacking, in fact, almost a sham. One has been made public in redacted form, the other not at all. Would you support making those Office of Legal opinions public, as I believe the American people have a right and deserve to see them?
Senator, I understand the seriousness of that question, but I'll have to defer to both policy and legal advisors at the Secretary's level to answer that question, Senator.
You and I talked a bit in my office about the energetic attempts by Russia and China to exploit the turmoil and confusion ongoing in Southcom. Can you share with this committee a bit about your perspective on Russia and China as threats to the United States in that area?
Senator, again, if confirmed, I intend to dive very deep into that topic set. But how I think about it in my current position is that I believe both of those actors would be wary of military competition because they'd be extended from their source of strength and power. I think what we look at as the future potentially is more on how do we align those soft aspects of power to be complemented by, when required, those harder aspects of military power to counter those threats, because they are right now currently both those threats are well ingrained throughout the Southcom AOR, and we have to find ways to counter them even more successfully, but use the advantage of the assets and capabilities in place now. But I do believe that most of the response or counter will come from the economic side and using other levers to counter those intrusions, I should say, Senator.
Thank you very much. Thank you to both of you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Senator Rounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me begin just by saying to both General Rudd and to General Donovan, thank you for your service to our nation. You have both spent much of your career operating at the tip of the spear in combat and in the gray space between peace and conflict. As you are considered for new roles with additional authority and responsibility, I appreciate your continued willingness to serve our nation in this exceptionally complex threat environment. and I want to extend that same thank you to your families for their service and their sacrifice as well. As I discussed with both of you in my office, I've heard from 56 senior DoD officials in hearings over the past 3 years, including the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, every service chief, and 9 combatant commanders, that vacating or sharing the 3.1 to 3.45 gigahertz band of the electromagnetic spectrum would have an extremely detrimental impact on our warfighting capabilities, including homeland defense missions, force protection for our troops overseas, and strategic communications. General Rudd and General Donovan, if confirmed, will you advocate for and defend the department's equities that operate on or use those bands of the spectrum, including the radars that will make President Trump's Golden Dome function appropriately? A yes or a no would be appropriate.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator. Thank you. Let me go to General Rudd specifically. Senator Wicker asked you about the importance of the dual hat leadership arrangement, but I wanted to kind of follow up on that a little bit with you. As you understand it, how important would the dual hat be during a conflict with a near-peer adversary, during which time Cybercom would be providing cyber fires to other commands such as INDOPACOM?
Yes, Senator, as as we discussed in your office, and then as I've alluded to earlier and spoken about, the unity of effort that comes out of that current construct, I think, is really important to enabling the support of both those organizations to the warfighter to continue at speed and provide agility. Increasingly, we're looking at how we effectively integrate those capabilities across the other joint capabilities in both kinetic, non-kinetic scenarios.
Yes, Karen
look at
Diggs,
that.
Golden Dome is when someone
do it on a
urinates
daily
on your
basis,
head.
not
Exactly.
kinetically, but we certainly
That's what he's
employ
talking
those
about
on
anyway.
a
I don't
daily
know what
basis.
anyone
So I
else is
think
talking about.
What we see at U.S.
But
INDOPACOM,
that's what he's talking about.
It's a very effective construct. But again, Senator, I think my role, if confirmed, is to continue to be objective about that. As it comes up for review and evaluation, it's to continuously assess that.
Yeah, and I think it's proven to be very, very productive in terms of both the speed and efficiency of making those deliveries of services back to that combatant command when you're sharing what might be an asset from one side of the coin to the other side of the coin between these two entities. And so I appreciate your recognition of that in your current position as well. General Donovan, Section 1505 of the FY24 NDAA authorized cyber activity against Mexican transnational criminal organizations. In your professional military opinion, would providing similar authorities to the commander of Southcom provide more options to the commander and ultimately enhance U.S. security in the region? I think this is one that kind of goes unnoticed once in a while, but those authorizations to allow us to get in and to actually follow up and follow these transnational criminal organizations is going to be extremely effective in allowing our opportunities to limit their ability to bring drugs and so forth into our country. But we've never really talked about it in the rest of Southcom. I'd like your thoughts.
Senator, when we discussed this in your office, it really hit home that the fact that authority applied to the Mexican potential target sets, the belief is that should be extended across the entire AOR, and that connects both NORTHCOM and SOUTHCOM, where we have that unity of effort and then unity of approach, but also unity of sharing, unity of the collaboration that's going to be required to protect the homeland.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the witnesses. Congratulations for your nominations. I enjoyed our visits. General Donovan is a former missionary in Honduras and the lead Democrat on the Americas Subcommittee of the Foreign Relations Committee. I'm going to focus my questions to you. Based on our office discussion the other day, and I appreciated both of our discussions, I understand that you were not involved and have not been involved in any of the planning around either Operation Southern Spear, the boat strike operation, or Operation Absolute Resolve, the Maduro extraction. Am I correct in that?
Senator, that is correct.
And would it also be the case, since we have officials from Greenland and Denmark visiting us today, you've not been involved in any planning about any military operations with regard to Greenland? Is that correct?
That is correct, Senator.
Thank you. This is the first public hearing that we've had since the operations began on September 2, where we can talk in public in the Armed Services Committee rather than a classified setting about this set of operations. And so I'm going to put some comments on the record that really, are not directed at you, since you just clarified you've not been involved in planning. First, a factual matter. Some of my colleagues have talked about the boat strikes as strikes against narco traffickers or narcotics boats. We used to say when I was trying cases, Your Honor, that assumes a fact, not in evidence, that the boats had narcotics on them. I know more than I'm allowed to say at this hearing, but I would encourage all of my colleagues to get the briefing that I got about these strikes and ask the question in each instance, was there any narcotics on this boat? Was there any evidence of narcotics? Also ask the question, is the presence of
doesn't matter. Stop killing people.
Even a criteria that's used in the targeting of these boats? And I would encourage all of my colleagues to get the briefing that I got, because I think it might surprise you. The second thing, from a matter of law, General Donovan, this operation, Southern Spear and Absolute Resolve, in my 13 years in the Senate, has been the operation that has raised the most questions about its legality. Again, what I know from reading legal opinions, I only know in classified, and I'm not allowed to really discuss them. But many of us have questions about legality, but it's not just us. The news widely reported the premature retirement of your predecessor as being partly motivated by his concerns about the legality of these operations. And he is not the only one. I'm going to read the title of a news article that came out a while ago in NBC News on November 19th. Top military lawyer raised legal concerns about boat strikes, and it talks about senior military lawyer for Southcom objecting to the legality of the boat strikes. The concerns about legality have also been raised by allies, and that should be important to us. It's been widely reported that the United Kingdom and other allies are not sharing full intel with the United States in the AOR because they're concerned that the U.S. is using that intel to carry out unlawful operations. And other nations in the region or in NATO that have been allies of ours have also raised questions about the legality of these operations. The questions will not go away, and they cause us grave concern. And second, there's some deep concern about the mission itself. The national security strategy released by the Trump administration on the first Thursday in December had something I liked. They put the Western Hemisphere as a high priority, and I think that means more budgetary resources coming to Southcom, and you've done a lot of budget work in Special Forces. That's great. But the document talks about a new Monroe Doctrine. As somebody who lived in Latin America, you do not know how badly that lands in the Americas. For our allies in the Americas, the Monroe Doctrine was about American dominance, not American partnership. It was about the right of America to intervene in the politics of any nation, including invasions, often the deposing of governments, often. That's what the Monroe Doctrine was, and that's what the Monroe Doctrine means to people in that region. And as I explained to you when we were together, and I really appreciated our discussion, no self-respecting nation is going to allow itself to be dominated. The Chinese come into the region offering partnership, and I think we all know how hollow that offer is. It's often got all kinds of razor blades in the apple. But an offer of partnership will always be chosen over an acceptance of dominance. And I just hope in your role, as you get there and get the lay of the land and then carry forward, you've done a lot of work with allies in your previous work, of course, and in the interagency. You know how important allies are. Let's not turn a face of a bully to allies, because if we do, we will chase them even faster into the hands of adversaries who are willing to invest an awful lot more than we are. And so those would be, you know, free advice worth what you've paid for it. But I look forward to working together, should you be confirmed, and I believe you will be, on a most important part of the world where the United States has such upside opportunity if we don't blow it. I yield back.
Senator Kaine, you have been to the same briefings I have. Let me just say in response to one statement that you made, that there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that these boats that have been interdicted have been drug smuggling boats. Senator Sheehy, you're recognized.
Good morning, Generals. Congratulations on the appointment. Thanks for your families for their continued service. General Donovan, I'll start with you.
You'll come stand next, don't you? Okay. All right. Y'all all ready?
This is the new envoy to Greenland.
Well, good morning and Happy New Year. You know, as governor, I promised that we would do things differently. We know this state has faced systemic challenges for decades. We've spoke about them and we've worked on them. To fix these problems, you have to change the culture of how you do business. And only through changing the culture and then bending the mindset of the people that work in state government can you achieve great things for the citizens of this state. We promised that we would make a government as great as the people of Louisiana. And one of the biggest challenges of the last 4 governors have been the fiscal affairs of the state. Each of those prior governors, whether it would be Foster or Blanco or Jindal or
Bobby Jindal, remember him? I'm so sorry. This is Landry, who's the governor, or was he the governor of Louisiana, or is he the governor of Louisiana? I don't really know. But this guy has been appointed to help take over Greenland. So I thought, I don't know if he's going to talk about Greenland, but that's what it is. The envoy, yes. He's the overpaid bureaucrat that's going to do nothing but cause us pain with our allies. That's who he is. Okay, here we go. Sorry, the sound is, I don't know what's happening with their sound.
John Bell have all been confronted with major fiscal instability throughout their term. Now, whether the solution was cuts that threatened health care, higher education, or even canceling LSU football, they never seemed to find a solution.
We'll all be over there with you.
And this has left a bad taste in the mouth of our citizens.
We'll move the compound over there.
I came in with the mindset that we were going to fix that. Our state government should be required to live within its means, just like you all are required to live within your family's budget. Government is designed to serve the people, not the other way around it. The money that we spend in this capital belongs to you. So we have a fiduciary duty to protect the people's hard-earned money. Now, I was not always in elected office. I've been a regular citizen as well, someone who has both earned a paycheck and signed a paycheck. I ran a small business. I paid federal and state taxes, and I get it. And I've been just as frustrated with the way that government spends our money from day one, and I've worked to fix it. I don't know if you remember.
If Louisiana isn't living in its budget, isn't that his fault?
When I was in Congress, one of the first things I did, as usual, was to cause a bit of a stir, where I declined some of the congressional special benefits. They didn't even know what to do with me. They said that I couldn't decline my health care. They said that I couldn't opt out of the congressional retirement. We just don't have a way to do that, Mr. Landry, they told me. But I forced them to do it, paving a new way. I led another effort, organizing members of Congress and encouraging them to be fiscally minded in their own budgets, in the budgets that we received. I said to those members, I said, let's see if we can create efficiencies in our budgets and save some money. And in 2011, me and many of those members, some of whom have gone on to do great things, returned nearly $1.5 million back
the age of
to the
stupid.
state treasury. Again,
It's the
they
age
didn't
of
know what to
stupid.
do with it. Then Speaker Boehner told us
He's
they didn't
dumb.
have a way
This man is dumb.
to turn the
His
money
budget
back
is
over to
offshore.
the treasury.
I would
We said, we
imagine.
don't care.
I don't
Here's
know
the money.
Landry that
You
well.
have to figure out what to do with it. But we showed them that we could do it. Because you see, I don't believe in just talking about the problems.
I think he
work to solve
tricked
them.
us. I was
Then
hoping
again,
to
as
hear
your
about
Attorney
Greenland,
General,
and
I
now I have to
started
hear
a
about this
fiscal
bullshit.
responsibility program because we were in the middle
I feel like I've been
of a
baited and
huge
switched.
fiscal cliff.
I'd like to throw you off a
And
fiscal
I asked
cliff.
one of those folks who is standing next to me, Mr. Steve Orlando, to run that fiscal responsibility program over at the Attorney General's office. And we looked at everything. And we saved hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars by streamlining processes, canceling vendor contracts that we didn't need, doing simple things like consolidating the number of printers in our office. Then as governor, right on January 25th, not long after taking office, I issued a directive, an executive order to each of my cabinet secretaries to begin to identify savings. And they did. And the results are literally amazing. Our first budget cut spending rather than increased it. It would have been just as easy to keep the bloated COVID spending money, but instead we proposed spending over $3 billion less. You see, because past budgets have been falsely propped up by one-time
That's not a win.
spending.
Okay, I'm going to stop him. It's not a win that you spent less on your people. It's not a win. You would have to show me a side-by-side of your budget to tell me what you cut so that that can be determined whether or not. I'm going to tell you right now, these fucking sycophant Republican assholes will kill their own citizens to be farted on by that administration. I am going to need everyone to be rising up against the people who are sitting there saying nothing while these guys continue to fuck the globe. Notice the silence of industry. Notice it, because that's where one might turn their attention. I just don't know. This guy's going to handle Greenland? He's telling me about taking printers out of an office and flexing that as if it's some kind of win. Now people don't have access to as many printers. Didn't I do a good job? Look at all the money we're saving on toner. What? No shit. U.S. News and World Report ranks Louisiana as the worst state in the USA. You know why? Because this guy just wants to please daddy so much, whoever daddy is to him at the moment, that he'll fuck his own people. He's doing fine. And during COVID, he was probably doing just fine. But you can't tell me that Louisiana doesn't need that money and could not have sought to improve infrastructure and other things. I mean, that would have been, you know what? If it's not the right use of COVID money, I don't give a shit. If that's going to help the people of Louisiana live a better life, I'm all for it. I would have fought for that as a governor. I would have said, help me use this money in the way I need to if I've already taken care of all my COVID expenses or whatever, you know? Like, help people. Help people. Lift them. Help them. Oh, my God. We need it. We do need some kind of universal basic income. I'm sorry. We need some kind of modicum of money that people receive each month so that they can live. I don't know how to figure it out, but I think people should try and figure it the fuck out. Because what we do know with evidence is that when stimulus and other things happen, people spend that money and move the economy. That's what we know. But yeah, be real happy, Landry, that we're going to trust you with Greenland, one of our allies, because you took Susie's printer away from her. Good job.
Or what they call in this building non-reoccurring spending, mostly derived from disasters or COVID federal spending. Our second budget proposal was flat as well, basically holding the line of spending to the prior year.
Dude,
That's
are you
right.
talking about
So while
Greenland or
other
what? I don't
states
really give a
increased
shit.
Their spending, we cut back, even increased spending. All, and we can eliminate it all while, and I believe we can still do it and cut taxes at all of the cabinet departments, and then federal taxpayer, Mike Wagasback, who's here
the reason
today.
I'm doing this is because I think
We
he's doing
worked
his
together
state
as a
of the
team
state.
From the legislature increases with the continue to recognize some of the people of all of the things that both he and many legislators over their terms have tried to get done in this Capitol and in the last 24 months.
Okay, fuck that. I'm not staying with that. I'm not staying that. I'm not sure your timepiece is calibrated right. I can't do this. I'm so sorry, you guys. These guys are just too stupid. Everything's stupid. He's not going to say anything of worth. So, fuck him. Let me see what I got here. I got some stuff to read to you. Anyways. Meow. There's a few things actually. So let me just, I'm sorry, I had all kinds of things. Let me see. What did I want to do? Oh, this one. I wanted to read this. Federal prosecutors quit in protest over lack of investigation into ICE shooting. Someone mentioned in the chat about the DOJ lawyers leaving and Pam Bondi being all up in her panties about it. It is 420 somewhere. It's 420 in my head all the time. It's 420 in my head all the time. 6 lawyers from U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota quit along with 4 leaders of DOJ's Civil Rights Division. Oh, shit. That's 10. Oh, shit. A wave of federal prosecutors in Minnesota and Washington, D.C. Sorry, hold on. Have resigned in protest over the Justice Department's decision not to hold a civil rights investigation into the fatal shooting of an unarmed U.S. citizen by a federal immigration agent in Minneapolis. Ooh. 6 lawyers from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota quit on Tuesday over the department's reluctance to investigate the shooter of Renee Nicole Good, the New York Times reported. Among them is Joseph H. Thompson, who was second in command at the office and led a large-scale fraud inquiry last year that led in part to the Dump administration sending a surge of immigration agents into the state. Thompson and his colleagues, the Times said, were upset at senior Justice Department officials demanding a criminal inquiry into any ties between Good and her widow, Becca, and activist groups, and the refusal of the FBI to allow state investigators to join in its investigation of the shooting. Separately, 4 leaders of a crucial division in the U.S. Justice Department have also resigned. The lawyers left the Civil Rights Division, which has a criminal investigations unit that investigates the use of force by police officers, according to MS Now, citing 3 people it said were briefed about the departures. The resignations follow a decision by Harmeet Dillon, operative, but also something, I can't remember what she is. The Dump administration aligned Assistant Attorney General for... Oh, yes, that's right. So how could I forget? She's the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. I'll tell you about her in a minute. Anyway, Hermit Dillon, blah, blah, blah. Not to investigate the January 7th killing of Good by Jonathan Ross, an immigration and agent. Dillon told the unit let's stop. Dillon told the unit the week before that it would not be involved in any investigation, Reuters reported a source as saying. On Tuesday, the Deputy Attorney General, Turd Blanche, said in a statement, there is currently
no basis for a criminal civil rights investigation.
That's right. That's what he said. The statement, first reported by CNN, did not elaborate on how the department had reached a conclusion that no investigation was warranted. Because what? Bondi tantrums and claims she fired him. Oh, really? Stupid. Pamela Joe, what are you doing? I'm Pamela Joe. Trump is not in the Epstein files. Just leave me alone. Is part of my name. I always think of that. Did you guys ever watch that show with, oh man, what was it called? It's like Publicity. Do you remember that little comedy show with Nick Kroll and, what the fuck is her name? God, she's so good. She's one of my favorite comedians too, and I can't remember her name. But they ran a Publicity and they're both named Liz. I got bangs. Anyway, it just reminds me. I don't know why it reminds me of that. I just don't know. I think I'm losing my mind. Okay. A Justice Department spokesperson confirmed the resignations in a statement to The Guardian, but denied they were related to the Minneapolis shooting. Oh, that's because Pam Joe speaks like that. Although we typically don't comment on personnel matters, we can confirm that the criminal section leadership gave notice to depart the Civil Rights Division and requested to participate in the Department of Justice's early retirement program well before the events in Minnesota. Okay. Any suggestion to the contrary is false. Sure it is. Then why'd you have to say it? The FBI, which sees total control of the investigation after freezing out local officials, is looking into Good's possible connections to activist groups. As what? As a reason to kill her? I don't understand that. According to New York Times, a succession of Trump administration officials, including the president himself, have portrayed Good without presenting evidence as a domestic terrorist or paid agitator. While video of her confrontation with Ross appears to show her trying to steer her vehicle away from him when she was shot 3 times in the face. Multiple career prosecutors in Dillon's office offered to lead an inquiry into the shooting, but were told not to do so. CBS News reported on Friday, probably the last thing they reported of any consequence. The resignations are the latest in a flow of departures from the Civil Rights Division since Dump began his second term a year earlier. In May, The Guardian reported that more than 250 attorneys had left, been reassigned, or accepted a deferred resignation offer since January. Roughly 70% reduction. What the fuck? Okay, what the fuck? Stop. Stop with your stupid ass fucking thing. I'm going to say it again. In May 2025, The Guardian reported that more than 250 attorneys had left, been reassigned, or accepted a deferred resignation offer since January, a roughly 70%. 70. Dillon, a former Republican official in California, and she's an operative. She's not an official anything. She's an election operative. She promoted the big lie that Dump's election was confirmed by the Senate in April, amazingly. She worked quickly to realign the division's priorities away from its long-standing work tackling discrimination and protecting the rights of marginalized groups and towards Trump's political goals, including exposing voter fraud, which is rare, and focusing on anti-transgender issues. Yep. Harmeet's a bitch. I don't think it's an overstatement to see this as the end of the division as we've known it, a Civil Rights Division attorney told The Guardian at the time. Subsequently, in September, the online news outlet Notice reported that only 2 lawyers remained out of 36 at the Justice Department's Public Integrity Unit assigned to investigations of corrupt politicians and law enforcement. Investigating officials to determine if they broke the law, defied policy, failed to de-escalate, and resorted to deadly force without basis is one of the Civil Rights Division most solemn duties, Kristen Clark, who led the division in the Biden administration, told MS Now. Prosecutors of the Civil Rights Division have for decades been the nation's leading experts in this work. The FBI investigation into Good's alleged links to activist groups protesting ICE activities in Minneapolis and elsewhere, meanwhile, aligns with White House messaging seeking to blame the victim for her death and absolve the ICE agent of responsibility. In the days since Good's killing, numerous Trump administration officials, including the Vice President J.D. Vance and Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, have repeatedly alleged without evidence that she was engaging in domestic terrorism and that Ross was forced to shoot to save his own life and the lives of others. Good, Noem said, had been stalking officers. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, Dump published a post of his Truth Social platform asking, "Do the people of Minnesota really want to live in a community where there are thousands of deadly criminals too dangerous to even mention?" Family members say Good, a mother of 3 children, had just dropped her 6-year-old son off at school, and a video shows her waving ICE vehicles past her car despite the insistence of Vance and others that she was deliberately blocking traffic and impeding their work. "This is classic terrorism," Vance said. Officials in Minneapolis have contradicted the administration's assertions and condemned its rushed judgment before an investigation had taken place. They're calling the victim a domestic terrorist. They're calling the actions of the agent involved as some form of defensive posture. We know that they've already determined much of the investigation, the city's mayor Jacob Fry said in a press conference on Friday. Yeah. This is bad. This is real bad. It's real bad. Yeah. Gosh, I don't even know. I don't even know. Okay, let's focus. Focus. The other thing, I'm going to throw these in the description. I don't need to. Oh, actually, I really wanted to read this. I don't want to forget. Okay. You know what? I can't even do it. I got to just talk to you guys for a minute. I can't do it. I can't do this. I can't. I want to, I do this not because I have any insight. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm an expert on, the judiciary or whatever. I'm just trying to understand what's happening in our world. And I love to read and I love to be a ham bone on screen. So all of this is why I'm here. I really can't believe that we fucking lost that election last year. And I don't care to relitigate it. It's not that. It's just that I am really amazed. It just feels like more people should go, wait, this isn't what we voted for. You know what I mean? Like, I don't just... Maybe you know what I think it is? I think I spend too much time in chud circles. I think that's why. That's why I feel like so despondent about the world's approach to what's happening in different parts of the country and the world that we're doing at our hands. But like I was saying earlier, I think it doesn't it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I'm just trying to share information that I find interesting, and then hopefully, we have very smart friends, right? People that bring us stuff to read and to learn and to understand. So that's why I think the show's a good thing, because it kind of gets people in that have really good brains and can really talk things out, right? So it's a bunch of different benefits, but I don't, does the media not think it's odd that, I'll just take Silicon Valley. Okay? I'll just take Silicon Valley. Does the media not think it's odd that the donors and the people surrounding this administration, like Mark Andreessen, like Peter Thiel, like, you know, like the bros and Elmo and all that, why isn't the media questioning the humanity of some of those people? And I know, I understand it's because the media is owned by the people who support blah, 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 blah. I guess I'm just having a really, really motherfucking hard time right now understanding how there are so many people that are apologists or that ignore what's happening. You know, like, I can't wrap my brain around that. SB, when Jim explained it to me like 8 years ago with Q, it made sense. We should have responded militarily to the coup that was physically attacking us. And it definitely, the media has a lot to do with it. And you know, the thing about Q for me is that we're still seeing the effects of that whole Q movement, right? In fact, to me, there's more Q nuts than ever. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing Q nuts in chats and stuff like that. So I kind of find that interesting. But I do think that, I mean, Jim Stewartson was right about everything. Like, literally, it's kind of a joke, but it's not a joke. It's still the same people. And the motivations. Like, I guess I'm just questioning the entire motivations of that group of folks. But I guess self-preservation is a hell of a drug, right? Self-preservation and once you've gone this far, it's not so hard to go that far, right? And I think someone said it really well last night. I don't know who said it, but it was like it's normalized. Everything about this time in our lives is normalizing treatment that otherwise we would be like, what? They have rebooted Q, yes, as you predicted, and the entire government is literally being run by Q nuts. Or they use Q to keep their, their street cred. They express a little Q-ness once in a while, or they tap into that. Because all you got to do now is say some words, and those chuds get activated. The crazy crusader guy we just executed, one of you, was screaming Q-slug. I mean, this is the thing. They are... people can deny it has had a great influence on the insurgency in this country, period. And it's not even like, I'm not even hung up on, like, I'm asking and pleading, why isn't anyone asking the power behind this administration and putting them on the spot for the absolute lack of humanity? Yeah, digital. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of digital soldiers, okay? They're going down the Q drop timeline as we speak. Clinton's, Epstein, Venezuela. Gosh, they are. Wow. The corpulent J6 booster made a point of going to Comet Pizza last week. Really? Which corpulent one? I don't know. There's a lot of corpulent J6 boosters. But he was on meth like his hero, yeah. I just, I don't know. I'm like, we watched in Minneapolis last night, and I don't know. The one who falls downstairs and denounces his hosts. Oh, is that I don't remember his name. Like a potato? Something with Tatum, right? Tommy Tatum? Is that who you're talking about? Jerome Powell recently used the technique we have been begging our representatives to use over these past years. He didn't enter into the Trump narrative, but named the tactic. Yep. Oh, Tater. Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know he was still alive. Excellent trivia. 1,000 points. Yep. There you go. Hey, all that time was worth something. Yeah. Allison and I watched ICE create video propaganda on Mercado Media last night. Oh, gosh, yeah. Tater tots. Yeah, tater tots. Here we go. My friends are so on this. So on it. All right. Guess who was encouraging them to invoke the I was wondering about this gal. I wondered about this morning. And I was like, I should look at Flim Plan's timeline and see if he's said anything about it. I actually hate that I know who all these people are. Act again. Small slip in words almost says the truth. Yes, he looks like the dictator he has always been. Here we go. Make sure I turn that up.
Here's the deal, folks, and the mainstream media is going to, they're going to make this sound like Trump is, becoming a dictator that they've always defined him as. So for the audience, get prepared for the vitriol that's going to come from the left-leaning media in our country and in Congress, sadly. Here's the deal, folks, and the mainstream media is going to, they're going to make this sound like Trump is.
He is the dictator, Mikey. Mikey's looking a little saggy. You see this? What's going on with the vagina neck, Mike? What happened? Look at your head's like getting weird. What happened? Are you sick? Do you have a toothache? What's the matter, Mikey? What's the matter, Mikey Flynn? Alex Jones. Yeah, InfoWars is still around. Yeah, so Mikey Flynn. We read this morning. Trump threatens to invoke Insurrection Act. They all have to grow a nunt like they wore the diaper in the ear. I have the ear guys still on here. I have to find them, but no. Yeah, that's I had pulled up also, I'm going to link a couple of source documents in the description. This is the national security strategy. Remember, they were referring to that this morning with the thing that really was the Monroe Doctrine. This is the new Monroe Doctrine. So I'll link that because I was taking a quick look at it. But then also, I had pulled up earlier. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Guess what this is? Guess what this is? A user's guide to restructuring the global trading system. I think what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to read the 41 pages of the Mar-a-Lago Accord again. No, not again. We haven't read the whole thing. Because we are in the midst of a Mar-a-Lago Accord moment. And I think it's worth doing. But I know what I was going to do. I wanted to show you, where is she? Tina Peters. I really kind of want to go. I want to play a little bit of Tina Peters. Is that okay? Are you guys okay with that? Are you okay with that? I have to jet at soon. So maybe we should do Tina Peters tomorrow. Okay, you're in for it? Okay, good. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. Birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Yeah. All cases on this docket are delayed. Da 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 da, Scooby Dooby Dooby Doo Boo Boo.
Just muting it continues to interfere with our recording equipment. I'd also remind everybody that there is no audio or video recording of today's proceedings. Argument is set for 30 minutes per side. Counsel will be responsible for managing your time for rebuttal. If you want any help on reserving time for rebuttal, let me know, and I'll do my level best to help you manage that time. Typically, we don't allow for tag teaming counsel, but both sides provided notice that there's a different lawyer that's responsible for the Christmas Eve motion, and will be arguing that. We would ask, if your plan is to present both arguments, that you figure out how you're dividing that up. But we also understand if at some point we ask a question in the middle of one lawyer's argument that's better answered by the other, both sides will have standing leave to defer to their co-counsel. And we appreciate both sides giving us notice that it was going to be handled in that fashion. I would remind everybody that these arguments are being live streamed as well as archived on our website. So to the extent there's any sensitive information, please be cognizant of that. The podium does have a toggle switch that moves it up and down, so you can put it at a level that is comfortable for you. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Any questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Peter Tickton, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tickton.
Good afternoon. Considering it's a half hour, we don't want to use the time for the motion. I think we've said everything we need to say in the motion. So I would rather use that time for this appeal.
And that's fine. The panel may have questions about it. So if so, we'll address those. Yeah, then you'll stand. So Mr. Case will be the one that will go ahead and do the presentation of the argument. You'll just be answering questions if the division has them. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
This is
Very
the
good.
appeals
Fair
court.
enough. Any other questions? All right, then let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Case.
Thank you, Your Honors. Good to be with you today.
Okay, I'm already depressed. I'm already depressed. This guy's back. I know, Sam. I hate him too. I do. Sam hates this guy. Here we go.
What is a clerk supposed to do when she suspects that the Secretary of State may be about to destroy digital election records stored on county computers that federal law requires the clerk to preserve?
Okay, I can see how this is going to go. That actually, it wasn't the defense in the first place. Never part of her defense. Never part of her defense. Never about she was afraid the Secretary of State was going to destroy. Nope, that's not actually it. Nope. You're making shit up, Case. You're making shit up. And you're only 15 seconds in. 16 seconds in. What the fuck? How do you do that?
What should she do?
Counsel, can I just get a table setting question here? My understanding is that your contention of what the federal duty was under the federal statute is preservation of election records for 22 months. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's also my understanding that several days before anything occurred with the trusted build, one or more forensic copies of the election records had been made and retained. Is that correct?
One copy was made on May 23rd,
Okay.
2 days before the trusted build.
Okay, so 2 days before the trusted build, a copy was made and retained. And that Ms. Peters was not charged with any criminal conduct for making or retaining that copy. Am I correct?
That's correct, because it was completely legal to make the copy, which the state acknowledges.
Which is fine, which is why she wasn't charged. So
Correct.
Yeah.
Why didn't that fully discharge her federal duty to the extent that it was to preserve election records?
Sure. Because she didn't know what the government, what the Secretary of State was going to do to the county computers during this so-called trusted build.
Well, what would it matter if she had a forensic copy of what the computer looked like before that she has
Because
retained
she's
and preserved?
responsible for protecting the records, not just preserving them, but foreseeing what happens to them.
That's a feeling. Then
And
she's
she's
had
not
feelings.
a computer expert.
Then she doesn't know
So-
what she's talking about.
What does she do? She knows what she knew at the time. She learned from the Dominion tech rep, David Stahl. He told her the QR code's going to be deleted. Well, why is that important? The QR code reads ballots. It processes a certain kind of ballot. So without the QR code, you can't process those ballots. That means, number one, 52 USC 20701 had been violated because that QR code was deleted. And number two, it means you can't do an audit of the
QR codes were not part of the original case at all. There was nothing, this is nothing to do with what Tina Peters received 9 years in prison for. 9 years. This is crazy. I mean, I know this case guy. He's a fucking fossil, and I'm surprised he's not dead. Maybe he'll die during this. Hope. I knew this was going to be bananas, y'all, and I didn't watch it yesterday when you all brought it up because I'm like, I just need to be able to react because I don't know what it's going to be. I can't watch it twice. But no, that didn't come up at all. Didn't come up at all. Yeah, okay, yeah, so.
The prior elections
Fucking
without
hell.
the QR code.
But why wasn't that preserved in the forensic copy that had been made 2 days before? Because isn't the forensic copy that was made an unalterable exact copy of
Yes.
what was on the system? So
Yes.
why didn't that preserve those records to be able to have that audit trail?
Well, if the QR code was there, it was preserved in the forensic image.
Right. But wasn't the forensic
She
image?
still didn't know. She still didn't know what the Secretary of State was going to do exactly. The Secretary of State.
God, I hate the way my sound is like fucked up. I have to push so many buttons. Anyway, what? She didn't know. Okay, so he continues to say she didn't know what the Secretary of State was going to do. With what? Tina had a feeling that the Secretary of State was going to fuck with the vote. Because again, she also never talked about that. Okay, that didn't come up either. She was talking about the whole reason Tina did this, well, was to fuck the election. But the second reason Tina did this, the way that she did it, was so that she could give a copy of how the voting machine works, the guts, to fucking Mike Flynn through Corey Butthole Surfer and the guy that was with her, Doug Frank, and Patrick Byrne. Okay? I'm going to tell you, like, this was the reason she did it was to try and get a copy of a machine because Mike Lindell, etc., Trebuchet, that's right. They were trying to get a copy of the voting machine so that they could fuck with it. It's all out there. It's not, I'm not making it up. It's all out there. They've all talked about it and it's documented. And this bitch is in prison right now because of it.
Might have just deleted the QR code and left all the other data on the computers. When you get a Windows.
Did Ms. Peters have custody or control of that copy, of that forensic copy?
She did until it was FedExed to Hayes on the 26th or 27th.
Corey Hayes, that's his name. Corey Hayes is who I call Corey Butthole Surfer because he's a former pro surfer turned trader. And he's now working, I guess, for Mike Flynn. I kind of lost track of who he works for. But I think he's paid by Mike Flynn and Patrick Byrne. Patrick Byrne is probably Conan. Yeah. Conan Butthole Server. I call him Corey. I'm sorry. Corey's a better name, I think. I'm just going to keep calling him that. So, yeah. Okay. I'm so bummed that who funded Tina Peters, et cetera, didn't really get into in this trial, but boy, that would be fascinating. And Doug Frank, I'm going to see you in prison one day, bud. I don't care how long I have to live and fight, but I will see your fucking ass in a compromised position at some point. Jesus.
Did she ever turn that copy over to the Secretary of State, according to the record?
No.
So at all times, she had possession, custody, or control of that forensic copy.
She gave it to an individual.
From the time she got it and sent it to Hayes, she did. After that, he had custody of it.
But she could have gotten it back from him if she'd requested it.
No.
Good question. I
No,
don't
he doesn't
the
know.
answer.
Can I roll us back just one step behind
Holy
that?
shit.
You acknowledge here that the argument with respect to the scope of the duty is the language of the statute, which is retain and preserve the records. What are we to do with the fact that at trial, when the jury instruction was requested on preservation, and the court essentially raised the same question that Judge Welling just asked, is it wasn't that duty discharged? Trial counsel said, well, we're not talking about preservation, we're talking about investigation. Does the preservation argument, is that abandoned? Is it waived at this point?
No.
Why not?
Because she has a duty to preserve under the federal statute. What counsel meant was, we're not talking about the imaging the system 2 days ago. We're talking about investigating what the Secretary of State's about to do
That's
to
not
county
true.
records that are her.
That is not true. That is not true. Yeah, pours out a glass of Cell Block Chablis for Tina Peters. That's right. Toilet wine. Are you making Magnolia toilet wine in there, Tina Peters? Little Tina Peters. That's not true. None of this is true. None of that was brought up. None of it is true. This is a real fucking desperate attempt. This bitch is guilty, okay? And what she should have done, and I said this all during her trial the first time, she should have flipped on those motherfuckers. Why she didn't flip on Doug Frank, why she didn't flip on Mike Lindell, why she didn't flip on, I don't know if she met Mike Flynn, why she didn't flip on Patrick Byrne. She should have flipped on all those dudes. Why are you sitting in prison, you stupid cunt? You're older than me. We don't do well in prison. Why would you go to prison for these douchebags? Why? You're so dumb. You could have said, I'll tell you everything and been a hero. But no, you're a fucking traitor, and you're even dumber. You're a stupid traitor because you take the hit for men. God, how dumb of a woman do you have to be to take the hit for a man? What the fuck? So I think Tina Peters, her little roast beef slag is right where it deserves. Sorry, that was terrible, but I'm mad. I'm mad. Her lawyers are incompetent. Sorry. I'm just mad. So mad at this world.
Responsibility under federal law. And she has a duty to investigate that.
Where does the duty to investigate arise? It's not specified in Section 20701.
Well, it's not prohibited either.
It may not be prohibited, but what gave her an affirmative duty to investigate?
Because she had to find out what was going to happen to the record she's responsible for. And she is not a computer expert. So what does she do? She asks the IT department. This is Exhibit 19.
But it sounds like you're conceding she didn't have a duty under any law to conduct the investigation. I'm looking at Section 20701. I don't see any reference to investigate or investigation
Well,
in the federal
I'm
statute.
sorry, Your Honor, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure, I don't see a reference to it in the statute, so please help me where that legal duty came from.
Well, it's true that 20701 doesn't say investigate, but she has a duty to protect and preserve those records. So she has to find out what's going to happen to them.
But she had that. She had the forensic copy.
She had the forensic image, yes. So she needs to find out what the Secretary of State is going to do to her county records that she's responsible for.
And this is all part and parcel of your Supremacy Clause immunity argument. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in order to have a Supremacy Clause argument, you have to have a federal duty and that this was in furtherance of that federal duty,
Sure.
right? And
Yes.
you're saying that she was investigating. And I think one of the reasons the trial court rejected the Supremacy Clause argument is that's not within the scope of her federal obligation. And I also didn't see you continuing to advance here the investigation theory as to what she was doing. So the court, is my understanding, is the court refused that defense on the grounds that investigation wasn't part of her obligations. Is that?
I thought what he said is she had no authority to investigate. That's my memory of it. Could be wrong, but he said you don't have any authority to investigate. But she does have the authority to investigate. Just like if you found out that one of
God damn it. I need a sound person. I need someone to just come here and tell me where to plug in all my fucking shit so that I can fucking do this show without fucking it up all the time. Now I forgot what I was saying. Wait. Okay. He just read the statute to that man. He just read the statute that said, no, Tina Peters does not have the right to investigate. Off topic, Crispy Gnome this morning, U.S. citizens carry papers to prove your citizenship. Are you kidding me, Max? Okay, I can't even handle. Okay, wait, let's just stop. Stop. It was not her job to investigate shit. And he's probably going to get into her attempting to contact the IT department. I think was half-hearted. She then brought in people that Mike Flynn gave her. You know, so I'm sorry. She was out of line. This is so clear cut. And if she fucked up, she should have said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me tell you who told me to do it." Flip, you stupid cunt. I can tell I'm going to be real mad today. I better take
judges. So a clerk came in and said, I just saw a guy show up with an envelope that had 10 $1,000 bills in it and hand it to a judge on the Court of Appeals. You would have a duty to ask more questions.
But for purposes of the immunity argument, isn't there an important distinction between whether she had authority, perhaps as the clerk and recorder, and whether she had an affirmative duty under federal law to investigate?
And to tack on to that, because if she just executed a duty but didn't commit a crime, we wouldn't be here. What she is contending is she investigated, but in the course of investigating, she violated a state criminal law. And she is contending with the immunity argument is, notwithstanding having violated the state law, I am immune from prosecution under that state law because I have this duty. So just because she can do certain things, that doesn't necessarily come within the scope of the immunity. The immunity is you were doing something that the federal statute says you have to do, and doing that made you violated the state law. The immunity doesn't extend to all things that you may be permitted to do, does it?
Well, I think it extends to finding out what's going to happen during the so-called trusted build, which turned out to be a wipe. The Secretary of State came in and deleted 29,000.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. He's claiming that the vote was wiped. That's not true. It was processed the way votes are, et cetera, et cetera. This is a lie. This is what they do. MAGA created their echo chamber media system so that they could develop the ability to lie without flinching. Now, when they get in the real world, like in a courtroom, they try to lie without flinching, and people end up sitting in prison and drinking toilet wine for 9 years. Yep. Do the math.
Files
no, my papers
that
don't,
were
please.
part of the 2020 election records, and did that in 62 counties in Colorado.
Do you have any legal authority for the argument that under either Section 207 or any federal statute, that someone situated like Ms. Peters had a duty to investigate? I'm still struggling with where that duty to investigate came from under federal law.
Because they're her records. She has to protect them. So she wants to find out what's going to happen to them. It's just like the trial court saying, well, you could have sent the machines to Denver. You could have canceled the trusted build. That's not an option either, because if they go to Denver, she doesn't know what's going to happen to them.
My understanding is you argued below that there was a duty to investigate, and that is what triggered
I'm surprised she didn't fire this guy.
The supremacy clause immunity. But to us, I'm reading you as saying that it is preserve and retain that is what that duty was, and that she was carrying that out. Is it one or is it both? Or
Well, if you say that if you say that it's different to see what happens to your records than to preserve and protect them, I guess that's a difference. But she didn't see a difference.
Okay.
I got a note that I can't understand.
I think my clerks say that all the time when I give that note.
So there's, as Mr. Tickton has pointed out to me, there's a hard drive copy, but she needs to know what's in her computer and what's gone after the trusted build. The only way to do that is to bring an expert into the build.
But isn't a forensic copy a clone of what's on a computer, on a hard drive? It's the same thing that could be found on the election machines. So,
well, it's supposed to be, but if you don't stand there and observe what happens during the trusted build, you don't know what happened to make the change. And that's why she needed an expert in there. So she did 5 things, 5 legal things to fulfill her federal duty. And central to this argument is who's in charge of the premises. So the people claim that the Secretary of State is the clerk's boss, and that the Secretary of State can dictate who is present during
Counsel,
the wipe.
can I push back on this just a little bit?
Sure.
She wasn't charged with having an unauthorized person present. As I understand it, she was on notice that the Secretary of State would not conduct the trusted build in the presence of a member of the public or somebody who wasn't an employee. And so it's not a question of whether she was authorized to bring somebody in. It's a question of whether or not she was deceptive towards a public official such that they would then choose to go forward with an activity that she was on notice that they otherwise wouldn't have. She wasn't charged with bringing an unauthorized person in. She was charged with lying about who that was in order to get the Secretary of State to take an official action, namely actually doing the trusted build in that person's presence.
Well, Your Honor, I have a question for you. If she wasn't charged with bringing in an unauthorized person, why did the prosecutor say over and over and over in opening statement, while witnesses were on the stand and in closing argument that she brought an unauthorized person into the room.
Because she
Well, you can't
lied about
establish
who
the-
he was. Oh
Again,
my
the allegation
God.
was that the offense is based on the misrepresentation of the status of that person.
Right.
You can't establish the status of that person without talking about whether they were authorized or not.
Correct.
Right? So
She brought in a person who she knew in whose presence the trusted build would not have taken place. Is that fair?
I don't understand your question.
That's what I gathered that from the response on your face. She brought in somebody that she knew, if the Secretary of State was aware of who it was, the trusted build would not have occurred in that person's presence.
Well,
Is that correct?
If the Secretary of State did what they said they were going to do, yes.
Right.
So here's why it was reasonable and necessary to bring that person in,
Reasonable and necessary to what?
to perform her federal
Okay.
duty.
All right.
Okay. So she needs to see what's going to happen to the county records that she's responsible for. And what was observed by the expert that she brought in, because IT would not furnish an expert, what was observed was Danny Casillas deleting 29,000 records, files of the 2020 election, which violates the federal.
You shut the fuck up, you lying son of a bitch. You motherfucking lying son of a bitch. Those records are not deleted. It's a trusted build. It's an update of the software system. They lie. They're just lying. Why? When is the lying gonna fucking stop? I begged people about disinformation. I begged everybody, make it stop. Like, say something. Say something. I don't know.
Federal statute. So that's why it was necessary for Hayes to be there to see this. And she had a right to bring him in. That's no longer disputed. But during the trial, they kept saying he was unauthorized. But she authorized him to be there.
Yes, it is.
And she had authority to authorize him under Rule 20.5.3b.
Then why didn't she just say to the Secretary of State, I know you told me not to have anybody who isn't a county employee, but this person is not a county employee and he's going to be here because I authorize him to be here. Instead of saying, oh, no, this is a county employee, and lying about who he was.
Because if the trusted bill doesn't go down, then she can't conduct the election. That's her understanding. And then the machines will have to go to Denver, and she won't be able to see what happened to them.
So in other words, she wanted to trick the Secretary of State into going forward.
She needed to in order to have Hayes present. It was reasonable because there was no harm caused by Hayes being there.
What? Okay, I'm just going to say this. I don't even know. Okay. Her lawyer just admitted that she had to deceive the Secretary of State about who was in the room because otherwise she knew that that guy couldn't be in the room. And apparently it's not good enough for her that there are rules for a reason. And this guy wasn't just some schmuck off the street. He literally works for Mike fucking Flynn. He literally works for Mike Flynn. They were trying to steal copies of the machine so that they could fuck with them. Oh my God, people. And then, they just bought the company. So,
The computers work fine. When
She wasn't charged with destruction of county equipment or, I mean, the harm here, the crime was that the misrepresentation of who he was led to an official act. That's the attempt to influence a public official part of this. That's what she was charged with, not that she destroyed computer equipment or did any sort of property destruction.
Well, I understand that's the people's theory, but this case was all about elections until the trial. And when the judge wouldn't allow any evidence in about elections, and the people objected to any evidence about elections. But before the trial, it was all about elections. The judge found that the clerk tampered with her own equipment. He made that finding.
Based on the specific charges, which are violations of state law, how would evidence of, say, election fraud have been a defense to the charges brought under the state statutes?
I'm sorry, Judge, I don't understand your question.
So the
What,
trial
are you
court
fucking
said, Ms.
stupid?
Peters, you can't bring in
You fucking
evidence that you believe
sundowning
there
at the
was
podium
election
there,
fraud.
bitch?
Right.
How was that evidence relevant to the specific charges, which were violations of state criminal statutes?
Well, here's the relevance.
And they weren't evidence, it was lies about the
The
election.
election fraud actually happened when the Secretary of State erased the 2020 election records in 62 counties. And hopefully the federal government is going to do something about that very soon.
Under what legal theory would that be a defense to the violations of the state criminal statutes?
Excuse me,
Please, go ahead.
One of those 62 counties was Mesa. Those are her records. And she's got a duty to prevent their destruction.
So is it a necessity defense? What is the legal nature of that defense to the state charges?
That she was
is
performing
necessity
a
a
public
defense?
duty. Executing a public duty.
A public duty or a federal or a duty under federal law?
Both. She's executing a public duty. It's her job as the clerk to protect those records and to make sure she knows what's happening to them. So she needs a witness to say what is going to happen during the trusted build and what did happen.
Why couldn't that witness have been Ms. Brown or somebody who works for her?
And why did they have to take a copy of the
They didn't have
database?
the technical expertise to do it.
I want to go back to the duty
If they were
issue.
just there,
It's-
if they were just there to observe so that they knew, they could tell her, oh, this is bad, this is good, right? They're there just to observe. Why'd she have to give them to the goddamn motherfucking... Why'd she have to give the database over to individuals outside of the state of Colorado who have nothing to do with government or elections or anything else? Tina, you fucked up. That's it. I'm sorry, girl. You are in trouble. And actually, I'm fine with you sitting in prison. I don't care if you die in prison. I really don't.
Seems to me that the duty argument goes to immunity under the supremacy clause. But I need your help in explaining how the existence of that duty under Colorado law would have been a defense, an affirmative defense to the state criminal charges.
Well, because all she needs is a reasonable belief that what she was doing was necessary and that she used reasonable means to achieve
No, I would
that
never
objective.
have made it.
There's
I would
both an
never have made
objective
it. They
and
would've kicked me
subjective
out before it
requirement of
started.
that, right? Her belief and the sincerity of her belief is necessary but not
would yell,
sufficient,
"Objection,"
right?
from the
It also
get-go.
had to be a reasonable understanding of what her federal duty was, and that would be a question of law that presumably at this point it's up to us to answer. Is that fair?
Well, our position is that state courts have no jurisdiction
does that
to
really
determine
happen?
supremacy clause immunity.
Let's talk about that. Then who would decide that?
Federal court.
But you didn't seek to remove this to federal court, did you?
No, because she's not a person who's entitled to do that under the removal statute.
But state courts, the case law is replete with state courts resolving these questions of supremacy clause immunity, correct?
The federal cases say that the Tinella especially says state courts can't decide this.
How does a court not have not only the authority, but the duty to determine whether it has jurisdiction over the case before it.
Well, assuming you're correct, and I understand you disagree with our argument that they didn't have jurisdiction, but assuming that they have jurisdiction to decide it, then they have to follow the rules. And the rule is if there's a disputed fact, you have to have a hearing. No hearing was held. So the factual record to support what she did was never made.
I wonder if I could email the clerk of the court.
So, but I want to go back to your jurisdictional question first, because you are contending that the state court had no jurisdiction to decide whether or not she was protected by supremacy clause immunity, right?
Yes.
Then she gets charged by the people with state law crimes.
Yes.
And she contends that she is immune from prosecution under the supremacy clause.
Yes.
Who decides if she's right?
And how? How does it get there?
Well, we filed a DEC action in federal court, and they said the judge said, no, the state court can decide that. Your case is dismissed. 10th Circuit affirmed. So if the trial court had jurisdiction, then he needed to conduct an evidentiary hearing, which he didn't do.
So despite the fact that you filed a DEC action in federal court, the federal district judge said, you're wrong, the state court can handle it. You appealed that to the 10th Circuit. The 10th Circuit said, you're wrong, the state court can handle it. You're still pursuing the argument before us that the state court couldn't handle it.
Yes.
Are you arguing that we don't have jurisdiction to consider the immunity issue?
Well, yes, but I know that you disagree with it.
Well, no.
That
Actually, the problem with your argument is if you're right, then we just can't decide it, and doesn't the conviction just stand? I mean, I guess I'm not sure you really want what you're asking for, us to decline to exercise jurisdiction, then the conviction stays. I think what you're asking us is to find that the trial court erred in its substantive determination that she didn't have that immunity, not that nobody can decide it, because you're arguing that she has it, and you want us to so conclude, don't you?
Well, let me put it this way. We're not waiving the argument that state courts don't have jurisdiction to decide this. I'll call it the Tanella argument.
Okay.
But assuming that state courts do, then...
I just want to stress, to follow up on Judge Welling, we have to make a threshold determination of whether we have jurisdiction. And it sounds to me like you're saying we don't have jurisdiction. And if we agree with you, as Judge Welling said, we have no choice but to conclude we have no jurisdiction, and therefore the appeal is dismissed.
Well, the trial court never had jurisdiction either. So the case is gone now.
So who would tell the trial court that if not us?
Well, I think you have to.
Okay. But you're telling us we don't have authority to rule. How can we tell the trial court they didn't have jurisdiction?
Do we or do we not have jurisdiction? It's a yes or no question.
You seem to want us to give us jurisdiction to do something.
If the 10th Circuit's correct, you have jurisdiction.
Okay.
How's that?
Fair enough, counsel.
All right. Now, so can I turn now in the time remaining to the trial court errors?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the law on affirmative defenses is if there's a scintilla of evidence in the record to support an affirmative defense, the trial court has to give the instruction.
Only if there's a legal basis for the defense, right?
Correct.
Would you agree that?
Right. So here there were two affirmative defenses, which the trial court decided before trial he was not going to instruct the jury on, regardless of what the evidence was. This is page 3370 of the trial court file. He says, I'm not going to give an instruction on execution of a public duty or immunity. So no matter what the evidence was, she wasn't going to get the instruction that the Idrago and Cassell's cases say she was entitled to.
Well, that circles back to where we started, the table setting, as Judge Welling suggested. And I guess I'll just kind of recap. If the world is as premised in that question, that backing up the records with a forensic copy would preserve the records, right? And the idea being you create a forensic copy, which is a clone, let's say unrelated to any of the allegations, let's say the server blows up you get a new server, you're able to replace those records with that clone, correct? That's what a forensic copy does.
Assuming that the forensic copy had all the information and assuming you could back it up, yes.
And that's not being challenged here. You're conceding that the forensic copy was a clone of.
I've never seen it, so I don't. And
well,
no one ever
whether you're conceding, you're not asserting that it wasn't. I don't see any. Okay.
No.
So, if as the premise of that question suggests, the backing up of the records preserved the records, the duty was done. What, other than that, what evidence was there to warrant the execution of a public duty defense? And I understand you don't agree that satisfied the duty, but if it did, is there anything else in the record that would amount to a scintilla of evidence warranting the instruction?
Well, she had a duty to see what happened to the records that she was responsible for. The only way to do that is to bring an expert into the trusted build. So, rebuttal closing. The prosecutor tells the jury that Dr. Frank told this to the clerk. Quote, "That would be illegal, but I have the best guy in the country," close quote. So what that told the jury was, which was a misquote of the witness, by the way, but what it told the jury was, Clerk Peters knew that it would be illegal to bring an expert into the room, and she did it anyway.
And this is your
illegal.
This is your prosecutorial misconduct argument,
Yes,
and
exactly.
And that was not objected to when it was said. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We think it meets the Tardif test for
Plain error. Very good. And I just reminded you have about 2.5 minutes left. I don't know if you want to reserve some
Thanks.
time for rebuttal.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Case. Ms. Michaels.
Thank you. May it please the court. I'm Lisa Michaels, registration number 38949. Tina Peters was not a federal official. She was a state official who was prosecuted by the state for deceiving state and local officials so she could get an outsider into the state's trusted build process. She had a duty to preserve federal election records, but that's not what was happening here. Here, she hatched a scheme to deceive state and local officials so she could circumvent the state's security protocols for the trusted build. That's what she was charged with. She wasn't charged with copying the election server. And we don't agree that her duty to preserve records included a duty to copy the election server, but even if it did, she didn't need her plot of deception to do that.
Why wouldn't it? In fact, wasn't she instructed, or not she specifically, but didn't the messaging from the Secretary of State's office to all the clerks say, back everything up before we come? Isn't that how they preserve these records? I mean, they have a federal duty to preserve records for 22 months. We have elections more often than that would warrant. So isn't the standard practice they do these backups and then they update the machinery for the next election?
Yes, I'm not sure. I want to make sure I answer your question. I agree with what you just said, but
But you seem to be hesitating to even concede that making the backup was okay, even though she wasn't charged with it. That seems a little...
Well, she wasn't charged with it, and obviously I'm not the trial prosecutor, but I think we don't agree that there was that duty, that was legal for her to do that. But that's not something that she was charged with. And so for purposes of talking about it, we can say that she copied the records, but that wasn't, and so maybe we could even just assume that meant the federal duty.
Who the fuck is this woman? Why don't they have the trial attorney up there?
So, yeah, sorry, I was on the right track. So let's say that did satisfy the, just for sake of argument, that did satisfy, sorry, I feel like this is a little bit sounding off. Does that sound okay to you guys?
I think we can hear you pretty well. Can the audience hear her? Okay, I'm getting nods, so.
Okay, good, thank you. And so, but what she didn't need to do, so her plot of deception was designed to get this outsider into the trusted build. She didn't need to deceive the state and local officials in order to copy the election server. So if we just assume that that was part of her duty, she could have done that because she did do it outside of the trusted build. She did it before the trusted build occurred, and she did it after the trusted build occurred. So she had copies from what it looked like before and what it looked like after. And no one was around when those copies were made. So she didn't have to deceive. She didn't have to get those security credentials.
But even more to the point, she wasn't charged with any conduct related to copying before or copying after, as I understand the charges. What she was charged with was misleading members of her office and folks in the Secretary of State's office that would lull them into performing the trusted build in her presence, with full knowledge that had she been truthful, it would not have happened there in her office. Presumably, the machines would have been sent to Denver to do the trusted build. Am I?
Unfortunately, I really do need to wrap because I have this dumb appointment I need to go to. Oh, I'm so mad. Yeah, boy, I can tell. You know, I you guys were right. This was so frustrating. I listened to I saw people comment on this appeals yesterday, and it does look like the headlines are saying that they're skeptical of her sentence, not overturning her conviction, but her sentence, which, you know, unfortunately, here's what the unfortunate thing. Lowering her sentence is going to be used by maggots as a win. And I understand. I don't really want anyone to be in prison. I don't think that's what life is for. I also don't do what Tina Peters does, so that's how I stay out of prison. And so, you know, fuck around and find out, I guess, Tina. But of course I don't want to see any human incarcerated. That's actually not who I am. At the same time, it is so disheartening to have justice in a small way be played out in the Tina Peters case. And yeah, it's so it felt hard to fight and continue to hope for a resolution in the Tina Peters case, which would I actually was hoping she would flip, but basically I actually really wanted her. I really wanted her to flip. But unfortunately, if they do lower her sentence, it just doesn't help in terms of the way that it will be bastardized. And I'd much rather have maggots trying to be mad about her staying in prison than I would them celebrating that, you know, she was exonerated, because that's what the message is going to be, is that Tina is exonerated. And I get it. I mean, I get it. And it's not, you know, it's not that they can't spin anything into some kind of damaging message. I'm not saying that. But this would really kind of like, it would suck, okay? Because the fuckery with the election data in 2020, 2021 was so bad and so obvious. And Mike Lindell should be in a prison cell right now. You know, like they really, really mind-fucked the country. You know, people like Doug Frank, they ran around the country telling people and making them more and more convinced that Biden had stolen the election. They really did that. And it was really hard to watch. Because I really feel so strongly that disinformation is such a problem in this country, and we just won't even lift a finger to talk about it. No one will admit that that's how we got here. And it's just so frustrating to me. And I don't even want to censor it. I don't even want to censor it, but I want to label it. Yeah, Jenna Griswold she had a pretty good backbone on this one, because they were relentless on Jenna Griswold. That entire Mike Lindell's, oh my God, they went after Jenna Griswold so badly. Steve Bannon, oh. so badly. They definitely encouraged people to send her death threats and make her. They made her life very unsafe. I don't know. You know, I feel like the election fraud or the election lies part of this is really, really deeply painful for me. Just because I feel like we screamed so loud that this is not going to end with just them, you know, getting a copy of a database from Tina Peters. It doesn't end there. I can't believe none of them are imprisoned, SB. I can't believe it. And that's why I'm saying I don't know, I'm fucking over with this world. I'm over with CEOs. I'm over with people who just won't say anything about how bad this is. I'm done with Hollywood. I'm done with all of the people who are just like silent. Silent. Every employee of Palantir should stand up and walk out. And I don't give a shit if you're the one making the sacrifice. You should have saved some of that fucking stock options, bitch. Don't fucking tell me about making a fucking, you know, sacrifice. Make the sacrifice. Stop whining about it. Yeah, I have to go. I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you. I don't even know. I don't even know how to leave you to say anything worthwhile, but yeah, I'll have a great appointment. Okay. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it, as always. Yes, I will give everybody hell. Thank you so much. All right. Goodbye.